Elf I am the protagonist template, Invincible chapter 461 to 480. 461. The trump card of crossing, the intentional guidance of Bai Zi. Please complete the order. Then, after Yulongdu gave a general description of the appearance of the Pokeball, Bai Zi was completely sure that this was the GS ball that appeared in the anime. Just GS ball that was supposed to be sent to Dr. Ogi by Ash and his party, and then transferred to the steel of the Pokeball craftsman for research. How has it been sent to the secret vault of the Alliance headquarters now? Bai Zi thought in his heart. And then Yulongdu solved his doubts. The Pokeball was taken by Dr. Nemu through the Alliance's internal channel, temporarily stored, and prepared to be consigned to Dr. Ogi. But I didn't expect that things were only put into the warehouse in the morning, and some people attacked the Alliance headquarters specifically for this at night, and it was still selected at a time when the top-level combat power just happened to be absent. Bai Zi blinked. Top-level combat power, in Yulong Fairy probably refers to the Kanto, 4 heavenly kings, headed by him. I have to admit that the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto are indeed very strong. Although they are called the 4 heavenly kings, all of them are strong in the championship field. It is no exaggeration to say, top-level combat power. One of these. Although Kenna has never officially fought against him, just based on the Battle of Golden City, Bai Zi learned from Zhou Lian of Golden City that he almost single-handedly stopped the rioting elf army from coming. Look, Kona's strength is by no means an ordinary champion. There is also Zaiba, who has fought against each other in the back mountain of Junshin town. Any elf is the heir of the middle-level champion Insect Prince who has never been revealed in front of others, Heracross. Then, I saw in the Victorian gym, the Jang ghost of mother-in-law Kikuko, who is marching towards the realm of quasi-gods, and mastered the death makeup technique, only a short distance from the peak of the championship. Abominable a step away. And this fast dragon on Yulongdu's side. Race, fast dragon. Attribute, dragon flying. Characteristic, spiritual power. Level, quasi-god elementary, level 80, 0/100. Potential, quasi-god. HP, 91, attack, 134, defense, 95, special attack, 100, special defense, 100, speed, 80. Skills, storm, wing attack, feather, divine speed, flame fist, lightning fist, frozen fist, binding, staring, tornado, electromagnetic wave, dragon tail. Genetic skills, dragon breath, divine speed. Status, perfect. Law of comprehension, dragon element 1%. Introduction, the absolute trump card of Yulongdu. The breakthrough is not long, it has a natural and elite sense of space, and it is good at flying and roaming battles. Sure enough, have you reached the quasi-god rank? Bai Zi was not surprised. The large needlebee of Sakagi before can be compared horizontally. As an opponent that Sakagi attaches great importance to, Yulongdu is absolutely impossible to compare with Sakagi. How much weaker? Speak up. Yulongdu successfully broke through the quasi-god rank. If the other 3 have nothing to hide, I am afraid that the champion of Kanto will be officially born soon. A quasi-god trainer plus 3 veteran champions, seriously, in most places in the elf world, it is enough to run rampant. But in the face of Lu Bo, a monster who has touched the power of the creation field as a human trainer. Bai Zi shook his head in his heart. Even if all the 4 heavenly kings headed by Yulongdu were present, I'm afraid it wouldn't change the final outcome. Or, fortunately not here. Yulongdu didn't know that Bai Zi was slandering himself in his heart, so he calmed down a little, looked around, and asked, by the way, have you met anyone suspicious here? Yes. Bai Zi nodded honestly, and then he withheld the part about Uncle Lu's true identity, and finished the rest of the story with Yulongdu. And the reason for concealing Uncle Lu's true identity is purely out of good intentions. Otherwise, with Yulongdu's temper, he was designated to run over and be beaten. Bai Zi's image of him was okay, and doing so would save him the life of doubt he was beaten. Messenger bird, tall man with mask. Yulongdu pondered for a while, and then confirmed, "You mean, Sakagi, the original owner of the Joban Gym, is also here?" "Yes, he seems to be a bad visitor. He seems to have come here for the Golden City business." Baizi shrugged. He naturally knew who Sakagi was. But since Yulongdu didn't seem to be ready to expose Sakagi's identity, he simply followed the words. "Think so. When mother-in-law Chrysanthemum was reporting, she should have deliberately picked herself out. Otherwise, Yulongdu will not be vague with himself. But think about it, one of the most famous gym owners in his own area is the leader of the dark organization Rocket. This is also a huge scandal. For the sake of reputation, it is obviously impossible for the Alliance to expose it." Golden City. Yulongdu frowned slightly, his thoughts changed, and he suddenly had a guess. Feng Speed Dog. Ace. It's Zoroark, right? Crossing the champion's vision is like a torch. Baizi gave Yulongdu a thumbs up and admitted it directly. He took the initiative to point it out just to let Yulongdu know. As such, as the great hero who saved the Golden City, how can the Alliance not express nothing at all? Good Jiao good. Yulongdu rolled his eyelids and looked at Baizi, who was staring at him with burning eyes, and when he thought about it, he immediately understood what Baizi meant. Shaking his head in disbelief, Yulongdu pondered for a while, and then said succinctly, "Well, aren't you going to the Alliance headquarters to select treasures? I will make the decision at that time, allowing you to choose as many as you like, how to do it. Then thank you for crossing the championship." Baizi smiled brightly. Immediately after, along with the slightly messy footsteps, the embarrassed turquoise and crimson came over. Facing Baizi's gaze, Qinglu's complexion was pale, and he took a deep breath before gritted his teeth and said. He ran away. 462. The event is over. Hatching Liluo, please order. Sakagi ran away, and neither Baizi nor Yulongdu felt the slightest surprise. Baizi had already discovered Sakagi's retreat. Yulongdu, on the other hand, has a full understanding of this cunning old team leader who has been the owner of the gymnasium for more than 10 years under the eyes of the Alliance. If Sakagi was really that easy to catch, the rockets wouldn't have grown to the size they are today, and it's still so difficult. Even after the high-pressure attack of the Alliance and the unknown elves, the attack of is still rooted in the land of Guandu and Guandu like a gangrene attached to the bones. But Baizi can also understand Qinglu's unwillingness. Originally, it was a temperament with a higher heart than the sky. But overnight, I have experienced successive setbacks from Lu Bo, myself, and Sakagi respectively. Not to mention Qinglu, I am afraid that Crimson's mentality at this moment will definitely not be able to maintain peace. Next. As usual, after inquiring about Qinglu and Crimson's information about Sakagi, Yulongdu quickly left here and went to the direction of the venue. In no time. Roar one by one. Several loud dragon roars suddenly resounded through the heavens and the earth. Obviously, the members of the masked organization who attacked the silver venue became abandoned sons who endured the anger of the champion. Then the mountain lifts the pad here. After a short silence, Qinglu took the lead and said, .373. Baizi, even if you have the power of a top legend, I will never give up easily. This is green. Baizi raised the corner of his mouth, raised his fist, and stretched out in front of Qinglu, then I'll wait and see. Shout tilde. Qinglu regained her usual glancing expression. 8 feet 5, 6, 1, 0.9, 7, 8, 2, Ling. Long, glanced at the fist in front of him, touched it lightly, and then it directly released a fossilized pterosaur. Ride up and simply leave. Wait, this uncle will never let you wait too far. The sound came from far away. Ling Baizi couldn't help but chuckle softly. This guy. And then, he felt a second touch from his fist. As soon as he looked up, he met the red pupils. Needless to say, the unwillingness to fight in those eyes already explained everything. Subsequently, Crimson, like Turquoise, chose a direction, steered the flying dragon, and soon disappeared into the night. Turquoise and Crimson leave shortly after. After Fengsugo used the inextinguishable flame to help Reshiram to thaw successfully, Tuko also offered his farewell after thanking Bai Zi. This time, Tuzi was also hit hard. Originally, although she lost the game, she was faintly proud of herself. After all, she didn't use Reshiram to bully others. Otherwise, as the legendary dragon god, Reshiram would be absolutely unbeatable. She originally thought so. But now she found out. Even if Reshiram is really used, the final result is nothing more than a different way of losing. The so-called self-esteem, now that I think about it, there is only shame left. I will try my best to practice with Reshiram, and when I become stronger, I will definitely challenge you again. After leaving this sentence, the little girl rode on Reshiram's back, and for a moment, she went straight into the sky. This one by one. Looking at the back mountain that was empty in the blink of an eye, Bai Zi shook his head helplessly, and after taking Laplace back, he also turned over and went straight to the dog. Let's go, back to Junqin town. Gently patted the wind-speed dog's neck. Next second. Woo tilde. Accompanied by a soft moan, the wind-speed dog used all his strength, and instantly held Bai Zi up in the air and rushed down the mountain. After returning to Junqin town, Bai Zi took a rare rest for 3 whole days. These 3 days, he neither trained the elves nor did the self-training, CFED, exercises as before. Basically, they are either studying food with Shinado during the day, or they are taking Laplace to go fishing at the lake, or they are holding the dog Lilu, who has not yet hatched. O's elf egg goes to take a nap on the lawn and so on. Don't spend your days too leisurely. And this period. To be precise, on the second night of returning to Junqin, the relationship between Bai Zi and Mei has made substantial progress due to, unintentionally, walking into the wrong room. Cough tilde. This process is not detailed. Speak up. As early as the day before when he returned to Junqin town, he had already used the hatching power that was swiped from akin to Liluo's fairy eggs. But what he didn't expect was that this thing didn't work in real time. According to the previous introduction, this hatching power is which enables the hatched elves to inherit the trainer's will and emotions and obtain unimaginable innate power. Originally, Bai Zi thought that after this hatching power was used on Reluo's elf egg, Reluo would hatch immediately. But who knows that after it is used up, this hatching power will not move at all other than adding a layer of special effects to Liluo's fairy eggs. If it wasn't for Bai Zi, who could clearly feel that Liluo in the elf egg had an indescribable connection with him in an instant, Bai Zi would have thought that he had received a fake destiny reward. Little guy, how long do you think it will take you to hatch? Lying on the lawn in his own courtyard, Bai Zi squinted his eyes and asked softly as if talking to himself. Immediately. Lying across his abdomen, the surface of the blue-striped elf egg that shone golden even in the warm sun immediately trembled as if in response. And Bai Zi also seemed to be proficient in egg language, and instantly understood what Li Luo wanted to express. Oh, you said it now. Huh, just now. Bai Zi was stunned for a moment, then reacted immediately, turned over from the lawn, and immediately hugged the elf egg into his arms. The next second, he suddenly felt the elf egg that was gradually warming up in his arms, releasing a wonderful unknown fluctuation. And at the same time, the soft white light gradually covered the entire elf egg. P.S. Yayi presses clothes tilde. 463. Mewtwo Killer. The King of Guides. It's about to hatch. Bai Zi's eyes were full of expectations, and he had considerable expectations for the unborn little guy in his arms. In the special chapter of the comic, Akin, Pichu, who was born with the help of the power of hatching, had the strength and courage to face Lubo directly when he was born. Baizi also doesn't hope that this little guy can break arms with Arceus as soon as he is born. But whatever. It can't be weaker than the Pichu in the special episode, can it? Or, it would be even better if you could be a helper to help me solve the dark super dream. At the last moment when the soft light on the elf egg faded out, this thought suddenly flashed in Baizi's mind. And then, click, underscore. Accompanied by a crisp cracking sound. A petite dog with a blue torso and a yellow collar around its neck appeared in his arms. It was Leo Lu. Although he was just born, it was no more than the size of 2 slaps of Baizi, but the light blue arrogance that appeared on the body of this little guy was entwined and ascended, and it instantly became as high as the sky. Sizzling beer tilde. Woo tilde. Sauna. Immediately, the elf ball around Baizi's waist lit up like a string of cannons. Big Stinger, Zoroark, and Shinado rushed out of it one by one, and they surrounded Baizi in the blink of an eye. Upside down. When it was clear that the guy who caused the big commotion was little Leoru in Baizi's arms, he was relieved. Since the last time Baizi had an accident, even when he went home to recuperate in the past few days, during this period, unless Baizi took the initiative to flip the brand and call it out, all the people who held it would never leave the body. Stay in the Pokeball. Just like. For fear that if Baizi is not careful, he will disappear again. Olu tilde. Little Leo Lu, who was in Baizi's arms, turned over, blinked his big eyes, and opened them slowly after a few seconds, looking at the world and the man in front of him curiously. Quite a while. Eyes curved like crescent moons, leaning into Baizi's arms, twisting like a coquettish arch. Welcome to this beautiful world, Leo Lu, please take care of me in the future. Baizi smiled softly, and while waving his hand, he took the nursing equipment he had prepared from the room, and started to care for Leoru's elf birth. With the eye of data, I began to investigate the attributes of the little guy. A brilliance that no one could see in his eyes flickered. In the next second, little Riolu's attribute panel appeared in Baizi's eyes. Open black lens bracket race. Leoru close black lens bracket. Attribute, fighting. Characteristics, spiritual power, waveguide heart exclusive feature. Contains almost infinite waveguide energy. The power of the waveguide system's ultimate power is multiplied. Dark killer mutation feature. Possessing it has absolute suppression power against dark elves, and can burst out the power of miracles beyond the limit in a short period of time. Level, Champion Beginner, Level 70, 0/100. Potential, Level 1 God. HP, 40, Attack, 70, Defense, 40, Special Attack, 35, Special Defense, 40, Speed, 60. Skills. Lightning Flash, Hold On, Faint, Wave Missile. Genetic Skill, See-Through. Status, Perfect. Introduction. Born as a racial king, the energy, heart, has an almost infinite wave guiding power, and has a keen sense like a prophet. The power of miracles, born from this is the embodiment of trainer Shirazawa's mind. The natural aptitude of a first-level god, and the level of champion level at birth are indeed amazing enough. But somehow, Onruluo's characteristics, especially the mutant trait, Dark Killer. Do you have absolute suppression against dark elves? Repeating it softly, Baizi's eyes also had a trace of thought. If the elf world is related to the darkness, except for the Dark Lugia who was killed by him, then there is only one guy. Quote. Darkness Super Dream. Good. It is the same individual in the different world of Chaos Dream who gave Baizi a great sense of crisis. Combined with the description in the introduction column. Power of Miracles, for Dark Elves, that is, the characteristic of Dark Killer, is the achievement of the power of hatching, through the embodiment of Baizi's own mind. That is to say, this Dark Killer characteristic is what Baizi wished for. Then, what is Baizi wishing for? Just thinking for a while, Baizi quickly recalled the moment when Leo Lu hatched. He seemed to have an idea in an instant. It would be better if you could be a helper to help me solve the dark super dream. Good. This is it. He hopes that Leo Lu can be a helper to help him solve the dark super dream. Therefore, this is exactly the power that was born against the Dark Mewtwo. Dark Killer. Maybe it should be more accurate, call it the Dark Super Dream Killer. Speak up. Infer by the same reasoning. The reason why the Pichu in the special chapter was able to face Uncle Lu as soon as he was born may be precisely because of Akin's desire to stop Uncle Lu at that time, combined with the power of hatching, it was created. Is it the power of thunder and lightning that is highly targeted to Lu Bo? But Baizi doesn't think this ability will be unlimited. Otherwise, as long as Ajin lives, he can use the power of hatching to create an invincible army. This is too disruptive. His incubation power was obtained from Ajin. He thought that it was essentially a system reward for his diligence, and it should have long since exceeded Ajin's own ability. Power of evolution, brushed from Xiaolan before, is enough to make Shinado inspire the ultimate power of super evolution. But Xiaolan's ability as an evolutionary person has not reached such a level at all. Baizi's heart turned back and forth. Soon, he calmed down and looked down at the dog in his arms. The little guy didn't seem to recognize life at all. After drinking the milk, he beat the elves around him one by one. Greeted. By the way, I still don't know if the little guy is male or female. Think of this. Baizi immediately stretched out his hand and lifted the little guy upside down with the back feet of the dog in his arms. Leo rode. Oh. P.S. Good fortune is coming, and misfortunes are far away. I wish everyone a happy new year. By the way, the Dark Killer feature is indeed for the Dark Super Dream, but it is not only for the Dark Super Dream. Begging. 464. The ashes are all raised. Change, please complete the order. On the fourth day after the Silver Mountain Alliance conference ended, Baizi finally set off from Junshin town again and set foot on the road to the Quartz Plateau. This time, neither Rusamanai nor Mei was accompanying him. According to them, they want to travel together with Xiaohuang and Alice to enhance their own strength, so that they can help themselves in the future. Academic Apocalypse. Poison Islanders have a famous line. Keeping a man's dignity is a woman's restraint. The same is true. Accepting their hearts is also the due meaning of Baizi as a partner. As for safety, there's no need to worry too much, not to mention that Yai is about to break through to the Quasi-Celestial King, and Lushamanai is a genuine, almost all handheld, heavenly level trainer. This kind of strength is outside the places where a few perverts and legends are located. It's just that travel gets stronger. The world is so big that you can get all the 373. Baizi's trip this time has a lot to do. The first is to go to the database of the Quartz Plateau to select the treasures, and then pick them up by yourself according to the storage point of the selected items. After this matter is done, he will go back again and enter the hinterland of the vibrant forest with the giant needle bee to find out. After all, in addition to the exploration of the Insect King. Among them, it is also related to one of the core strengths shown by the future giant Stinger. After that, it's about the black flash of the sky sitting. Actually, on the way back to Junshin town, Baizi had already taken out the sealed orb containing the blood of creation, and handed it to Haishin Lai Kongzai. However, Lai Kongzai did not use this thing for the first time. According to it, this thing does have a very crucial role in its power to touch the realm of creation. Especially, after it has personally realized the power of the messenger bird. But according to Lai Kongzai, once it uses the whole thing, I am afraid it will fall into a deep sleep for a long time. Pillars of the Sky, located in the Fengyuan area. There. It is the gathering point of the atmospheric power of the elf world. Haishin Lai Kongzai can use this to accelerate his understanding of the laws of the flight system. Only when the comprehension of the laws of the flight department reaches 100%, it will not get twice the result with half the effort if it comprehends the second law. This matter is related to Baizi's top-level combat power increase, and he naturally dare not be careless. In addition, Black Flash is sitting empty and unwilling to go alone. Therefore, Bai Zi also needs to accompany Haishan Likong to the Pillar of the Sky in the Fengyuan area. Besides, still in the ultimate metropolis of the ultimate space, looking forward to it, waiting for him to lift the seal of the bright god, Necrozma. As well as help Kang Shang solve the problem of Wuji Tina in the Kalar area. All things considered, there are really a lot of things. Quartz Plateau, outside the Alliance headquarters. Hurrying all the way, Bai Zi finally arrived at the Championship Road, outside the Kanto League headquarters at 1:30 in the afternoon. This is a famous scenic spot in the Quartz Plateau. The promenade that leads directly to the headquarters of the Alliance is engraved with the statues of champions over the years. This is also one of the reasons why people are flocking to the Alliance conference. Famous all over the world, and will be remembered through the ages. As a scenic spot, there are naturally many people. In addition, it is forbidden to ride elves and use motor vehicles here, and you can only travel on foot or by bicycle. Of course, fighting is not allowed. Want to fight? It can only be solved on the battle platform specially set up in each section on both sides of this corridor. Bai Zi estimated that this should be specially set up for the combative group of trainers. Bai Zi didn't intend to break the rules, so when he arrived at the Road of Champions corridor, he jumped off the back of the wind speed dog, took it back, and planned to walk go to. But before he took 2 steps, he realized that he seemed to ignore his popularity a little too much now. Before, because he was riding the wind speed dog and didn't stay in front of people very much, Bai Zi subconsciously forgot that he was already a well-known star trainer in Guandu and Guandu. Now this appearance suddenly attracted the attention of many tourists and trainers on the road to champions. Fortunately, people in the elf world are generally of higher quality. In addition to paying attention to him and discussing in a low voice, there are a few more courageous people who came up to ask him for a photo or autograph, and did not chase after him at all. Let Bai Zi's senses be good. Only about 2/3 of the way was gone, and some of the trainers who followed him finally couldn't bear it anymore and rushed over to stop Bai Zi. Are you Bai Zi? I'm Agu from Golden City, I want to pick. The boy named Agu was full of fighting intent at first, but after touching Bai Zi's eyes, he suddenly lost his courage. Then, when his eyes wandered, he happened to see Liu Lu, who happened to stick out his small head from Bai Zi's collar and hit Heish. Immediately, his eyes lit up, he stretched his finger to Liuru and said loudly, I want to challenge the Liuru in your arms. Although the little guy had a little tantrum with him yesterday, he still kissed him very much, and he didn't like to stay in the Pokeball at ordinary times. Therefore, he became another temporary resident who stayed in Bai Zi collar after Su Loya and La Lu drawing. And with the voice falling on the road to champions, the air suddenly became silent. Many people looked at the boy named Agu with their faces full of astonishment. Who didn't know that Bai Zi, the champion of the conference, finally chose a Liuru elf egg from Sharona? Want to come? Is this the one in front of you? It has only been 3 days since the end of the conference, and this Liuru is obviously a newly hatched baby. At this point, it's enough to see from the opponent's unopened body shape. So, challenge Liu Lu. Are you embarrassed to mention such a shameless challenge? Why don't you just challenge the elf egg? Everyone couldn't help but feel indignant in 4.3. Although many of them also planned to defeat Bai Zi to become famous, but that was to gain fame in a dignified challenge. See. Such a shameless method is not worthy of being called a trainer at all. Bai Zi was also a little dumbfounded. He admits that this guy is really shameless and has style, but wants to pinch Ruluo like a persimmon. I'm afraid I really don't know how to write dead words. This is not a description. To know. Although the little guy has reached the championship level, he has just been born, and the shot is neither light nor heavy. If he is not careful, he may really raise the ashes of the opponent and the elf. P.S. Seme is about to appear. 465. Seme appears, the promise of the two, please complete. Quote. What, don't you dare. There were boos all around, but the guy named Agu looked directly at Baizi and spoke out again. Obviously, this guy has already planned to be shameless to the end, simply breaking the jar, just to take advantage of the fire today and step on Baizi to become famous. Speak up. Agu's strength is not weak. It has only been 8 years since he debuted, and most of the main players have already begun to set foot in the gymnasium. Don't look at the previous Baiyinshan conference that was always the champion of the Heavenly King, but in fact, you can't compare those monsters with ordinary trainers. Agu is already a leader in his age. It is precisely because of the guarantee of this strength that he would think of such a method to become famous. Anyway, after taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to step on Baizi, he only needs to be careful not to touch those monster-level guys, and he is not afraid of ordinary people of the same age. At that time, even if someone comes to the door again. You can't beat me, why do you say I'm fake? Certainly. In addition, another important reason why Agu is like 25 is that in the past 2 days, Fengyuan, Shanao, Carlos and other places have been set up almost invariably. An incentive mechanism. One by one, as long as the age is not more than 25 years old, you can show and defeat Baizi, Qinglu, Crimson, Xiaohuang, Alice, Crystal, Ajin, Tuzi who appeared in the Silver Mountain Conference. Credentials of any one of several people. Moreover, if you join the local alliance and immigrate, you can get a high-quality quasi-god cub specially selected by the local alliance, as well as a corresponding attribute treasure. This reward mechanism is not unimportant, so naturally there are many people who are tempted. These days. In addition to Baizi, who has been nesting in Junqing Town, Tuzi, Alice, Crystal, and even Crimson, who has gone deep into the forest, have all been picked up by trainers with great powers. Battle. As for saying, ending. The ending is naturally no surprise. Those guys, how excited they are, how miserable they will lose. Especially those guys who challenged Cyan. In addition to being crushed tragically, I am afraid that they will have to endure Qinglu's poisonous tongue that can be said to pierce people's hearts. There are not a few who have been directly crushed. And after this round of fancy beatings, they finally woke up those hot-headed trainers. Of course. There's no shortage of tricks in this. For example, concealing his age, or like this guy in front of Baizi, looking for opportunities to challenge non-main members of these people, etc. But without exception, all ended in failure. After all, non-main force of these guys in Qinglu is also not something that those trainers who are trying to find out can easily deal with them. Or, even if it is a non-main force, its strength gap is still like a natural moat against ordinary trainers. That's a desperate disparity. It's enough to make most trainers stay away. But now it's different. The Liuru in Baizi's arms was only born for about 3 days at most. Such a baby in its infancy may not even have all the skills. Therefore, as long as Baizi takes on the battle, then fame, quasi-god cubs, and attribute treasures will all be at your fingertips. Baizi obviously didn't know what the other party was thinking. But seeing that this guy doesn't seem to want to let it go, especially after Baizi's power is as bright as a light bulb in the dark night, he doesn't bother to care anymore. Fang is dead. After all, it's hard to persuade a damned ghost. When the time comes, let the little guy do more. After all, it's still small. It's best not to see blood casually. If it's directly turned into ashes, it shouldn't matter. Baizi thought so in his heart. The Battle of Silver Mountain. Baizi, who has clarified his position in the food chain of the elf world and the crisis he is about to face, has become more arbitrary now. Even if it was not far from the gate of the Alliance headquarters, there was no consideration at all. Not to mention the accidents that occurred in the Battle of Elves are always understandable. Baizi's eyes darkened. But when he was ready to agree. It's not impossible if you want to challenge Brother Baizi. With a clear voice, a beautifully dressed girl walked out of the crowd and stood beside Bai Zi. You must first just pass my test. Oh. Bai Zi raised his eyebrows slightly, turned his head, and looked at the person who came. What caught his eyes was a slender and beautiful figure, flax-colored curly wavy long hair, a slim black top and a high-waisted short skirt. On the slender legs are black stockings. The girl also wears a pink lady's hat on her head. Delicate face. Full of youthful vibes. Immediately, the corner of Bai Zi's mouth curled into a slight smile. He had already recognized the person. It was the heroine of the Carlos region, Sally 373 Na, known as the Sissy. It can be seen from the girl's title that she and Bai Zi know each other. Speak up. This is already a few years ago. At the beginning, after Bai Zi separated from Gili Dan, who was still Xiao Fudan, on the way back, he met little Serena who was crying because of getting lost. Fate. In retrospect. Back then, he and little Serena made a promise when they parted. Long time no see, Serena. Thinking of this, the corner of Bai Zi's mouth raised a gentle smile. After hearing this, Selena immediately responded with an extremely bright smile, her eyes curled, and she waved at Bai Zi. Long time no see, brother Bai Zi. Actually, to be precise, it's 2146 days. The girl paused word by word, her expression serious. Subsequently, she put her hands behind her back, with a satisfied smile on her face. However, brother Bai Zi really abides by the agreement between us and recognized me at a glance. P.S. Sister, Serena. 466. Serena's style is a gorgeous flame manipulation. Please complete order. At this time, a GU, who looked at the beautiful girl standing in front of him and Bai Zi, listened to the two people's behavior of throwing dog food without anyone else's expression. He knows that he is despicable and shameless, but after all, he is also carrying out a sacred spirit challenge. Can you give some respect? Filled down pointing triangle dish filled down pointing triangle hash. You. A GU was about to warn her, but the girl interrupted the word, you, directly. Shut up. What am I? Don't think that I don't know what you are fighting. I have already said that if you want to challenge brother Bai Zi, you must pass the level of Miss Ben. The girl's blue eyes like jewels seemed to read people's hearts, with a meaning that could not be rejected. You want to use this meaningless record to receive the reward, isn't it, because the regional alliance has to eat wongly and dumbly for the credibility of the reward mechanism? But if I release it with brother Bai Zi, if I want to challenge Bai Zi, I must verify my strength before it can be officially carried out. At that time, I won't be able to show the credentials to defeat me. Do you think those regional alliances will let you take advantage of this? Serena's words can be said to be bloody, and hit the opponent's key. Every time a GU listened to a sentence, his face turned blue, and in the end, it seemed that he had been defeated by Selena's words. Even talking nonsense. Do you think you can hide from everyone's eyes like this? Everyone here can testify for me. Testify. With perfect etiquette, Selena asked aloud to the surrounding crowd, will everyone testify for such a guy? As soon as the voice fell, someone immediately spoke. Of course not. No. It won't work anymore, it's clearly this guy who is cheating tilde. Not bad, that's it. They have long been unhappy with this guy who has no trainer style, and at this time, they are naturally the same enemy. Thank you all. Serena bowed slightly, then looked at Agu. With a small smile, he said softly, so, what is your choice? Do you want to fight me, or leave by yourself? Agu clenched his fists tightly and made a sound for a while, still unwilling to give up this easy-to-get thing. He said again in a hoarse voice, if he defeats you, will he fight? Although these words seemed to be responding to Serena, his eyes were fixed on Bai Zi. Serena frowned slightly. As he was about to say something, Bai Zi said without hesitation, of course, if you defeat my little Serena, then I will accept your challenge. Okay. That's what you said. Agu agreed immediately, and his expression was cheered up again. In his opinion, it's just to defeat a little girl who is dazzled by love. It's not enough to let him run into a monster, like the one at the Silver Mountain Conference, right? Come on, then. Serena didn't respond immediately, but turned her blushing pretty face to Baizi and blinked slightly, as if asking, "Is it really okay?" Seeing Baizi's affirmative look, he immediately nodded his head, turned around and followed Agu to a battle platform extending out to the left of the Road to Champions. The two stood still. As if he couldn't wait, Agu released his strongest trump card at the first time, which was a King Nito who had reached the high level of the gym. He has a strong physique, fierce eyes, and seems to be well-bred. As for Serena, because of the encounter in his childhood, Baizi always thought that Serena was the version in the anime TV. But looking at the girl who stood on the battle platform at this time, with a calm face and full of momentum, he was suddenly a little unsure. 11 This awe-inspiring attitude and fighting spirit are definitely not the little girl in the anime. And next, the graceful figure released by Serena, the demon fox holding a branch, undoubtedly did not apply for his thoughts from the side. Race, Demon Fire Red Fox. Attribute, Fire, Super Energy. Characteristics, Fire, Magician, Monty. Level, Heavenly King Peak, Level 69, 99 100ths. Potential, Quasi-God. HP, 75, Attack, 65, Defense, 72, Special Attack, 114, Special Defense, 100, Speed, 104. Skills, Magic Flame, Predicting the Future, Acting, Illusion Light, Howling, Tail Wagging, Flame Vortex, Spiritual Shock, Ghost Fire, Spiritual Strong Mind, Big Character Pyroblast. Genetic Skill, Magic Reflection. Open Black Lens Bracket Status, Perfect Close Black Lens Bracket. Introduction. The Demon Fire Red Fox with excellent qualifications and full potential has a natural and powerful spiritual power, and the operation of attribute energy is like an arm command. Sure enough, the level that is only one step away from the championship field further proves Baizi's guess. Serena reunited with herself. Already a mature and powerful trainer. Correct. What needs to be explained here is that the role of the magician feature in the game is to take away the props of the opponent who is hit by his own moves. In reality, it represents a unique potential for the manipulation of spiritual power and energy levels. At this point, in the next play of the Demon Fire Red Fox against the opponent, the performance is vivid and vivid. In the field, Agu's King Nito is just like a doll that is manipulated at will, being driven and manipulated by the magic flame of the Demon Red Fox. It is impossible to form an effective reaction at all. Or rather, resist back. Baizi's sharp mental power, which is different from ordinary people, can clearly perceive the hidden mental power in the magic flame of Serena's Demon Fire Red Fox. It's really a gorgeous flame energy level control. Appreciate softly. In a trance, he seemed to recall the second agreement that Serena was asking for when they parted. Quote. Do you want me to make a promise for you? Then, become stronger, don't cry like before. Under the shade of summer trees, the little boy and the girl intertwined their fingers and made a contract to meet again. P.S. Serena Saigo tilde. 467. Who knows? Please ask. Just as Baizi recalled. In the field, Selena stopped the Demon Fire Red Fox from playing with King Nito. Okay, let's solve it. Magic Fire. Woo tilde. Fire snakes, circling and flying in the field immediately gathered towards King Nito who was rushing to the left and right. Boom, underscore. Covering it in an instant, in the roaring explosion, it turned into a splendid fire lotus flower. Magic Flame Lotus. Such a splendid scene immediately aroused bursts of exclamations from the audience. Instantly, the flame is gone. King Nito, who was covered in scorched black and scalded red spots, had his eyes widened, and plumes of smoke rose up. In the next second, he fell to the ground like pushing a golden mountain down a jade pillar. Selena, win. Wow, underscore. At the end of the battle, the audience gave their applause without hesitation. Amazing, this little girl's strength looks very unusual. That's right, I also know that. Agu, a well-known young trainer in Golden City, with good strength, but in front of this little girl, he has no power to fight back. As expected of a trainer who knows Baizi well, he has such strength at such a young age. 390. The admiration from the people around made Serena slightly embarrassed, but she still returned the lady's manners generously, and then cast her shining eyes on Baizi. The hope in those eyes is very understandable. Baizi smiled lightly, and immediately gave her a thumbs up, which instantly made the smile on Serena's face even brighter. And right now. Again, come again. It took Agu a long time to realize that he had lost to the opponent, but such a result was obviously unacceptable to him. King Nito, who was seriously injured, was not taken care of at all. At this moment, his eyes are red, and he looks like a gambler who has lost everything. He growls unwillingly, "Go on. I haven't lost yet. I still have a genie in my hand. I can continue to play." You. Serena's pretty face froze, but before she could respond, she felt her palm being held, and turned her head, only to find that Baizi had approached at some point. Don't pay attention to him, this guy has. Baizi squeezed Serena's palm, taking advantage of the time when little white CFED bowed his head shyly and said nothing. He suddenly turned his head, and his cloud-like blue pupils just met the person who was looking at him. Agu's eyes. In an instant, an invisible wave flashed from his eyes. With the help of spiritual power. Baizi's moment seemed to be transformed into a bull-relieving knife, which instantly penetrated the void and pierced straight into the eyebrows of Agu, who took out a large amount of elf balls from his waist indiscriminately. Crazy. With the last two words spit out. Agu rolled his eyes, and the pokeball in his hand suddenly fell to the ground. Subsequently, he was shaking like a sudden epilepsy. After a sudden roar that did not sound like a human voice, he rolled and crawled off the edge of the battle platform, as if being chased by something, and ran away. Standing not far away, he was playing with a wooden staff. The demon fire red fox suddenly tilted its head and looked at Baizi with an inexplicable look. The pale complexion was as usual. And this time. Only then did Selena recover from the coursing of the deer, looking at the figure of Agu who soon disappeared from sight, with a puzzled expression. He is this. Can't stand the blow, or run away. Who knows? Baizi shrugged. Serena obviously didn't care about this either. She just looked at the unconscious King Nito and the scattered pokeballs and asked, "Then these?" Baizi naturally knew what this kind-hearted little girl meant. Immediately squeezed the other party's small hand, chuckled, "Don't worry, there will be staff to deal with it. Come with me for a walk." Serena nodded heavily. Baizi smiled lightly. Then, he took Serena's little hand and walked back in the direction of the championship road. With Serena's company, the originally long road to champion suddenly became extraordinarily short. It didn't take long for the two to approach the middle gate, and they were about to officially step into the building of the Alliance headquarters. During this period, Serena is like a little dart, twittering and sharing her experiences and interesting stories with him over the years. For example, because of the supervision of my mother, I was forced to participate in the night competition and won the championship of the junior group and the comprehensive group. Participated in the Triple Crown satellite tournament in the Carlos region, but lost to the re-elected Queen Carlos. And acquaintance with Firefox. In the process of traveling, I captured 10 rare light pink flashing butterflies. Being pranked by Gengar, eventually becoming good friends and traveling together. Blah blah blah. Serena shared everything with Baizi, as if she wanted to show her everything in front of the man in front of her. Yes, and this one. In front of the middle door of the tall and magnificent Elf Alliance headquarters, Serena suddenly raised her left arm and reached by Z in front of her. I saw a black ring on the slender white wrist. On the ring, there is a translucent splendid colorful bead. By Z recognized this thing at a glance. It was the keystone and the matching super bracelet. This is the super bracelet that Dr. Britano gave me not long ago, and it has the magic item that allows the elves to super evolve. But at the moment, except for this set of keystones and mega stones for Gengar that Dr. Britano gave me. Oh, it's another kind of stone to wear on the elves. Of course By Z knew. But he didn't interrupt Serena's sharing. After listening quietly, he showed the feeling of sudden realization at the right time, which made the smile on Serena's face even more. 468. Keystone, the Royal Dragon Fairy. It is indeed quite a miraculous power. I believe that Dr. Britano's research will shock the entire elf world. Finally, By Z gave a concluding remark. Tilda. The feeling of being valued arises spontaneously, and Selena put her hands behind her back with a smile on her face. Actually, Dr. Britano really wants to see you, brother By Z. Oh, By Z raised his eyebrows slightly. How do you say that? It's because of the Shinado that you appeared in, brother By Z, in the Silver Mountain Conference. Serena continued, because the main force of Carlos's champion, Miss Karunai, has super powerful abilities, and the changed form is one of those of By Z, your Shinado. The shapes are very similar. So, Dr. Britano was quite curious about that. He guessed whether Shinado has two super evolutionary forms, and whether there is a way to super evolve without the assistance of mega stones and keystones. Is that so? The light in By Z's eyes flashed away. Of course there are elves with two super evolutionary forms, but they are fire-breathing dragons. As for another way of evolution that does not require the assistance of mega stones and keystones, there is only the Koga ninja frog who has transformation from bondage. As for saying, the red natural king fire-breathing dragon, that's bloodline atavism. By Z guessed that in the end, the red fire-breathing dragon might, like his own Hornby, permanently maintain the super evolutionary posture of the X form. However, these are rare cases. Although the exclusive feature of the Koga ninja frog, tie and transform, has been completed on the game attribute interface, from the characteristics of the ordinary ninja frog that has not changed, maybe this will be the world's largest. The only ninja frog in the world with a transformation. Of course not necessarily. At least. Hero ninja frog, enshrined in it. Just when By Z's thoughts were flying. Right. Slap, _. Serena clapped her hands as if remembering something. Subsequently, I saw Serena dug out the small bag she was carrying, and from it she dug out a keystone, that was the same as her wrist, and handed it to By Z, saying, "This is the keystone I accidentally discovered. Originally, I wanted to find another matching mega stone, but I haven't found anything." Serena's tone was a little lost, but she was cheered up again. But brother By Z, didn't you gain the right to choose treasures in the Alliance General Treasury at will? I believe you can find the right mega stone. By Z was silent. He knew the plot very well, and he knew very well that the keystone and mega were found in a no-man's land or ancient ruins. Serena said it was an understatement, but obtaining this keystone is not easy to imagine. Serena, who was a little embarrassed by Z's two hot eyes, turned her eyes away, stared at her toes with a blushing face, and asked in a loud voice. What's the matter? Nothing. By Z smiled and stretched out his hand, covering Serena's little head, and rubbing it gently. Subsequently, he picked up the keystone, and took out the mega stone of the giant gold monster from his backpack, and chuckled in Serena's surprised eyes. Mong tilde. There is no need to go to the General Library of the Alliance to choose. I have a mega stone in my hand. It has been waiting, and it belongs to its keystone. This sentence is a pun, and Selena's small brain can hear a different meaning. At the same time, her face is already like a ripe red apple, and her head is about to feel ashamed. Smoke. No matter how much she admires Baizi in her heart, in the final analysis, Serena is just a young girl who is only a teenager and has no love experience. Could he endure Baizi's straight ball attack? Baizi will accept it when he sees it. The girl who pulled her head down and dressed in a doodle passed through the gate of the Alliance headquarters. As she walked forward, she opened the mouth and said, "Speaking of Serena, your keystone came too soon, so I have a lot more options. It's good to be able to help brother Baizi. ... Ask for flowers." A girl's voice. Baizi glanced at Serena, who was like a little daughter-in-law, shook his head amusingly, and moved on. It seems to be because of the previous masquerade attack. The entire Alliance headquarters became even more deserted. But Baizi knew very well that it was loose on the outside and tight on the inside. Because along the way, his keen mental sense had sensed the feeling of being locked and released in an instant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The gate of the Zhongmendao Alliance. In this promenade with a distance of only 100 meters, Baizi at least sensed 12 spiritual locks that reached the level of a heavenly king. 0. Tisk tisk tilde. It's really like an enemy. Because these inductions were just a simple sense of hostility and threats, Baizi didn't counterattack, so he walked through the corridor and entered the hall of the Alliance headquarters as if he was unconscious. Once inside, he saw Yulongdu's familiar and conspicuous outfit. Yulongdu raised his eyes, glanced at Serena beside Baizi, looked directly at Baizi, and simply stood up and said, "Come with me." Words fall. Hang, I. With a flick of the wide cloak, Yulongdu walked straight into the hall. "Let's go." Baizi raised his eyebrows, and seeing that Yulongdu didn't say anything, he directly pulled Serena and followed him. Speechless all the way. Soon, several people were led by Yulongdu to the top floor. "Speak up." Although the headquarters of the Alliance was attacked, Baizi walked all the way and found no damage at all. This is obviously not Lu Bo's mercy and love for public facilities. It can only be said that the construction capacity of the Alliance is strong enough, but in just 3 days, the headquarters of the Alliance has not seen the slightest trace of the battle. P.S. By the way, should the second team have a Jahei ninja frog? If you do, should you cut the original one from whose book, or come out with the original one? How about the black glitter? Beg. 469. Selected, the only case. Union Headquarters Building. Top layer. Baizi and Serena followed Yulongdu out of the elevator, turned left, and turned the corridor several times before stopping in front of a white wall. Oh. Seeing this, Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly. Of course he would not think that Yulongdu was wrong, and, according to the usual routine in film and television dramas, I'm afraid that the empty, white wall in front of him is not a white wall. The invisible door is what secret way there is. As predicted. As Yulongdu put his palm on the wall. After a few seconds. Drop. With a very low electronic sound, the inconspicuous iron ring that Yulongdu put on his index finger followed. The entire wall suddenly lit up with geometric patterns. 390s. Immediately after. The two halves of the wall from the center slide silently to both sides. This is it, come in. Suddenly, a circle of green light flashed. Yulongdu retracted his palm, and after greeting, he stepped in first. Moment. Rows of lights come on from the space behind the wall. Take a picture of the layout of this secret room. The room is not big, about 50 to 60 square meters, the size of a living room, and the ground, walls, and roof are all tightly seamed. It is made of alloy material, except for the 2 rows of annular recessed lights in the ceiling and the ventilation ports in the corners. The entire room was almost empty. Yulongdu stepped forward. Stand directly inside a slightly raised ring in the center of the room. In an instant, the entire room seemed to be activated. The familiar green geometric graphics and texts once again covered Baizi's entire field of vision. At the same time, a curved rectangular virtual screen appeared directly in front of Yulongdu. DDD, the visitor, is a first-level authority user, Yulongdu. Open black lens bracket. The database is completely open to you. Close black lens bracket. Please describe the keywords. The Alliance Vault. Open black lens bracket. Keyword selection, Alliance Vault, please wait. Close black lens bracket. Immediately. Columns of green codes scurried across the virtual screen. Semi-artificial intelligence. Standing not far from Yulongdu's side, Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly. Speaking of which, the network security of the elf world was like a morning road to him. But it cannot be denied. Although the technology tree in the elf world is crooked, the power of technology, or the power of black technology, is quite high. Not to mention suspected semi-artificial intelligence. As early as more than 500 years ago in the Carlos area, there were already outstanding scientists who used the extremely simple equipment at that time to create a magical Pokemon with real intelligence and emotion, Magiana. So, black technology, you can't judge with common sense at all. Was thinking about it. Drip drip. With an electronic sound, Baizi raised his head and saw that on the curved rectangular screen, 12 folders were divided into 3 columns, and they were neatly arranged one by one. Alliance General Warehouse, number 1 external position, number 2 external position, number 3 external position. Open black lens bracket. External position number 4, external position number 5, external position number 6, external position number 7. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. External position number 8, external position number 9, external position number 10, external position number 11. Close black lens bracket. This is the list of all the Alliance Secret Vault materials. After selecting, write down the number, and I will take you downstairs to complete the formalities. At that time, the Alliance will deliver the things to you in person. With that said, Yulongdu motioned for Baizi to come forward. Baizi nodded slightly. Immediately go forward and check them one by one. Open black lens bracket. Exquisite Firestone. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Superior Dark Stone. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The King's Certificate. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Beautiful Scales. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Leftovers. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Holy Ash. Close black lens bracket. 1. To say that there are a lot of good things in this Alliance secret library, just one of the main library. All kinds of priceless attribute props and treasures on the market will be piled up like a mountain. Among them, there are also many secret treasures with unknown functions, as well as items that are used to temporarily store some items deposited by the elves. The previous GS ball was transported and temporarily stored in the general warehouse by the special channel of the Alliance that Dr. And the next 11 external positions. Among them, positions 1 to 6 are ecological natural areas, where a considerable number of high-quality elves controlled by the Alliance live. Position 7 is a whole crystalline mineral vein composed of 3 attributes: electricity, ground, and fire, and the reserves are amazing. Positions number 8 and number 9 are resettlement areas. There are some powerful elves who have gradually become naturalized after being captured from various criminals. Position number 10 is a separate listed flame ecological area, and all the fire-type elves in it can be listed separately. Baizi guessed, this is either a unique geographical area or it's a secret that no one knows. But since it is not marked, obviously, this hidden thing is not within the range that he can choose. Baizi did not force it. Continue to look at the data of the last position. As soon as the document was opened, Baizi's expression suddenly froze. Because compared to the dazzling array of other positions, there was only one item in this number 11 position. The Mutant Elves 1-1 Steel Armored Crows, Super Giant. This is. Looking at the huge bird that is at least 10 meters high in the video data, Baizi's eyes are surprised. Although the communication in various regions is not developed, no matter what, it will not be given to a bird. Can the supergiant steel-armored crow set up an independent position? Yulongdu saw Baizi's doubts 4.3 and immediately explained. This steel-armored crow is a unique species of elves in the Galar region, but, unlike ordinary steel-armored crows, the steel-armored crow seems to have maintained such a huge posture forever. According to the researchers in the Kalol region, this is a relatively rare manifestation of hypergiantization among their local specific gigantic phenomena. However, this perpetual maintenance of hypergiantism is the only one that is unique today. Is that so? Baizi pondered for a while, and then simply said, I'll choose it. Another item, I hope I can go to the general warehouse to choose it in person. 470. Steel Armor Crow, I'm making a decision. Are you sure? Yulongdu frowned slightly. Baizi saw this and joked. Why, this steel-armored crow is not within my allowed selection. That's not it. Yulongdu shook his head, his voice unhurried. Although Kalol has been wanting to ask for or replace this steel-armored crow, but since it is listed, naturally there is no problem. But this steel-armored crow seems to be unable to capture it with all the Pokeballs today for some special reason. Isn't it enough to use the giant bracers or the Master Ball? Baizi asked. Oh. Yulongdu glanced at Baizi with a slightly surprised look, knowing that the Master Ball is not difficult to understand. After all, it is a trainer from Junshin Town, in front of Dr. Damu. But the gigantic bracers. Even he, who was recently invited to participate in the opening match of the 25 Pokemon World Championships, in the Galar region, only knew a little about it. Where did this kid find out? The doubts in Yulongdu's mind were fleeting. After all, he was not a personality to get to the bottom of, so he put this doubt behind him after thinking about it. He explained. Although it can be installed temporarily by using the giant bracer or the Master Ball, the main problem is not the installation, but its energy is always in a manic state, and the consciousness is also quite violent. Therefore, even if it is temporarily installed, this steel-armored crow is enough to approach the energy level of the champion and the hard power of the peak of the king. There is simply no way to keep him in forcible custody for a long time. It may break through the shackles of the Pokeball at any time during transportation, causing fatal danger to the escorts. So, the Alliance had to use the energy-draining device to temporarily block it on an isolated island, and then because some researchers rushed to hear the news, it gradually formed this number 11 of external positions. I see. Baizi nodded when he heard the words. And Yulongdu continued. So, if you want to capture it and take it away, I'm afraid it will be a little troublesome. In addition to being difficult to capture, the trouble here also includes the stakeholders of the 11 positions built around this steel-armored crow, right? Baizi looked playful. Yulongdu glanced at Baizi's expression, smiled rarely, but did not deny it. So, what is your choice? It remains the same. As iron. Baizi's tone was calm, and the corner of his mouth also showed a grin that made Serena's eyes turn red. I just happen to be missing an air battleship for long-distance travel. This steel-armored crow, I have to order it. The primary difficulty in capturing this steel crow is the Pokeball. And by coincidence, Capture Ball, he swiped from the crystal, does exactly that. Capture Ball. Throwing the selected target will inevitably hit the energy node of the target elf and force it to be captured. Open black lens bracket Note 1. Does not include domestication function close black lens bracket. Note 2. The target strength must not exceed the championship level. Although there is a limit of, without domestication function, and, target strength must not exceed champion level, but a match made in heaven. Very good, from now on this little ball will be your forever home. The stakeholders of the number 11 position established with the steel armor crow as the center. Tilde. Since things belong to his name, they belong to him. Baizi really wants someone to dare to be a demon. The effect of, throw it out, it must be forced to catch, is simply the same as this steel. He also doesn't mind using some thunder tactics. Was thinking. Ha ha tilde. Along with laughter, Yulongdu's voice came again. Don't worry, this steel-armored crow is said to be captured and held by me personally. When someone really stops you, you should beat it, as long as you don't cause casualties, you can do whatever you want. All right. This is what the champion said. Baizi's eyes suddenly lit up, and the tiger skin that was delivered to the door was nonsense. Of course I said it myself. Yulongdu answered equally succinctly. He has such confidence. At the same time, a kind of love for Baizi, Junior, who belongs to the same Guandu, and whose talent and strength may even be better than his own. Yulongdu knows it well. Heart, of being a trainer. And, potential, is a manifestation of the trainer's heart. Without this, heart chi, or a trainer whose heart chi has declined for some reason, there is no way to set foot on the peak of the trainer's path, or even retreat. The most obvious example is the United States champion Adek. Because in a battle, his partner died of illness due to excessive force. Adek, this was one of the first trainers in Yulongdu and their previous generation. The top two champions immediately lost their spirits. With a great loss of anger, he could no longer inspire his comprehension of the explosive potential, and his combat power was even worse. At the end of the plot of the 390 game, Black-White, his belief in betting on the championship eventually lost to N. Kui Kizi was even more blunt. Adek's strength is no longer enough to hold the title of champion. But is Adek really so weak? Do not. I am afraid that few people know that in the battle that made Adek lose his partner and faith, Adek, who was ill-prepared, used the power of one man and one elf to block and defeat him. The nearly 10,000 well-trained Kingdom Coalition forces that attacked the United Alliance. Achieved, with a feat of defeating 10,000. But what about Adek now? Although he is very popular and loved by the local residents and trainers in the Hejong area, he is no longer in the mood. He has been out of battle for a long time. With all his strength, how much is left? Baizi is Yulongdu's most optimistic and admired descendant. Although Baizi's talent is very likely to be one of his opponents to the peak of the trainer. But Yulongdu still hopes that Baizi can keep his heart, not be disturbed by the influence of the world, and go further on the road of trainer. 471. Cross the champion, can your fast dragon pass through Kalul's customs? After leaving the reference room on the top floor, Yulongdu personally helped Baizi go through the formalities and certificates related to the ownership of the steel-armored crow. An electronic card used to untie the shackles of the steel armor Raven energy-draining device. Then, he took Baizi to the secret vault of the headquarters on the innermost floor of the first floor without stopping. Let Baizi walk around in it, and take an item temporarily named, Branch of Life, that has not yet been identified as a specific function. The reason why it is so named is because the branch of this unknown tree, after testing, contains a considerable degree of life energy. And these life energies are still in a state of continuous circulation. This broken branch is constantly overflowing with weak life energy, and at the same time, it is also continuously flowing from the air or the sun. Light absorbs various attribute factors, transforms, and supplements the life energy stored by itself. Is as if this branch still has life, doing an alternative, photosynthesis. But Baizi is very clear. This thing, in fact, is not a branch of a tree at all, or in other words, it is not a plant at all. The branches of the tree of the beginning of the world, a special life form with an independent circulation mechanism, which has the function of subtly refining the body and amplifying the output of energy. Good. This thing is the special kind of biological substance aggregate that appeared in the theatrical version of Dream and the Wizard of Heroes, Lucario. Although the shape is similar to the towering tree connecting the sky and the earth, it is actually a crystalline life form composed of mineral rock layers, and the leaves and branches are only the physiological tissue form of the outer layer that absorbs light energy, etc. That's it. So, strictly speaking, you can think of the world initial tree as a stable device that regulates the energy balance of the world. And there is an elf that lives here, and also coexists with the tree of the beginning of the world. Of course, this is based on the plot of the theatrical version. How exactly? Especially after learning that the top legends have phantoms, a skill similar to incarnation. By Z, even more uncertain. The topic is a bit far off. Closer to home. Branches of the tree of the beginning of the world came out. In his opinion, is this an inappropriate skill augmentation and boosting item? As for its owner, Baizi already has a plan in mind. The formalities certificate of the steel-armored crow and the branch of the beginning of the world, were obtained. Baizi and the two left the headquarters of the alliance with Yulongdu in person. On the square. Yulongdu glanced at the time of the elf watch on his wrist, and looked at Baizi. Then the small island is located just outside the territorial waters of the Galar region. How about it? Would you like to take a ride with me, Tilda? Championship is going to Kalal. Baizi asked curiously. Nodded. President Luoz in the Kalal region invited me to participate in the opening match of the Pokemon World Championship. The opponent is Dandy, located in the arena in Gongmin City. As he spoke, he tapped the elf watch on his wrist and immediately projected a virtual map. In a while, I will take a special plane to go to Gongmin Market at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. On the route, I will pass by the number 11 external warehouse where the steel-armored crow is located. When you get off on the way, you can save yourself the need to go back and forth on a passenger flight. Is that so? Baizi's eyes flickered, and he turned his head to look at Serena inquiringly. Seeing the other party's expression of a husband and wife, he immediately nodded and said, "Then I will trouble you to cross the championship." The matter of the steel-armored crow should be sooner rather than later. Since Yulongdu did this for the reason and conveyed goodwill, he naturally had no reason to refuse. After all, he still appreciates Yulongdu itself. It's no trouble. Yulongdu chuckled and shook his head. Then, as always, neatly, after greeting, he took Baizi and Serena directly to the Alliance headquarters building. Tarmac. After boarding the special plane like a small airship, the aircraft quickly set off and went straight into the sky. Because of some legendary tribes that are quite arbitrary about their territories. The flying heights of the aircrafts in the elf world are relatively low. However, in terms of speed, it is obviously not slow. Inside the luxurious cabin. After the flight attendant brought the drinks, Baizi admired the scenery of the passing clouds outside the window, and then turned to look at Yulongdu on the opposite sofa with his eyes closed. Championship, can you talk about the opening match of this Pokemon World Championship? Oh, Yulongdu opened his eyes. Are you interested in this? Just out of curiosity. Baizi shrugged and said, as far as I know, this Pokemon World Championship should have been held for some time, right? I heard that it is quite popular on the internet. Why did you suddenly invite Du Champion to have such a belated opening match with Dandy? Is that so? Yulongdu nodded and did not hide. According to President Ross, the previous Pokemon World Championship was a trial run, and the official conference time will be held in 1 day. After a week. And the reason why I was invited, according to him, is to create excitement and fame, and to push the Pokemon World Championship to the world. To this end, he Honuos also sent a lot of pure energy crystals called Source Crystals to the Alliance headquarters, and disclosed some of the research on Extreme Giant to the Alliance headquarters. And how to use it. That's another reason why I went to Kalal. It turns out that. Baizi nodded knowingly. But, according to the information he has on the plot of the original book, the purpose of the president of the Kalal region, Lords, is probably not just as simple as what he said. Thinking of this, Baizi suddenly raised his head and asked a question that confused Yulongdu. Championship, this opening game, your ace fast dragon, should be able to pass the customs in the Kalal region. 472, the strongest throne. Arrive at the island of position 11, change, ask for full reservation. To be honest, Yulongdu hadn't reacted to Bai Zi's brain circuit at first, but then, he seemed to understand, and his expression softened, saying, "Don't worry, this is just a performance battle. At that time, both of us will probably reach the point and end with a tie." As for the trump card, Yulongdu stroked his waist and said with a light smile, "Since I went to the dragon cave to pick it up when I was 10 years old, we have never been separated again." Words fall. A elf ball around his waist suddenly trembled, as if giving Yulongdu a response. Yulongdu's mouth slightly raised. "That's fine." Seeing this, Bai Zi nodded slightly. Actually, the worry in his heart has not diminished much. Because although Yulongdu carries the ace-fast dragon, it is very likely that he will not use the full force of this game as a show battle. But Yulongdu won't use all his strength, and Dan 390 Emperor won't either. It is not to question Dandy's character. In fact, when it comes to the ranking of the champions in each region, Dandy is almost the same as Yulongdu, except for a little bit of road idiots. He has a strong sense of responsibility, and there is almost nothing to be criticized. Sick of the perfect regional champion. But Dandy's character passed the test. However, it does not mean that the character of the Alliance Branch President Lowe's in the Kalal region has also passed the test. As a hometown focused on developing, for a problem of energy depletion that may occur in 1,000 years, dare to awaken the idealists of the alien god, Wujitana, who once created the phenomenon of night in the Galar region, such a terrifying disaster. Or rather, lunatic. I'm afraid, it will not be so simple to pay such a huge price for the so-called source crystal, and some extremely huge research materials for a hot exhibition match of the Pokémon World Championship. After all, this so-called source crystal is likely to be the gigantic energy extracted from Wujitai's body and purified. This is the energy that is in short supply in the Kalal region. Bai Zi didn't believe that Luoz, who was a businessman, would make such a loss-making business. Not to mention, if you want to completely build the reputation of the Pokémon World Championship in the Chaldea region, a tie exhibition match, how can it be compared? Defeat the current world champion, the most vocal of the world's strongest titles perhaps. Can he still make Dandy the strongest in the world? Dragon Messenger, Yulongdu is even more exciting. According to the plot of the original work and the ranking of the so-called tournament, 8 masters, Bai Zi's concerns are obviously not without a purpose. However, Bai Zi also knew very well. As a champion, Yulongdu has the belief and pride of being a champion. Just a reminder, it is a kind of care, and besides, it is a question of Yulongdu's strength. Forget it. After thinking for a while, Bai Zi finally gave up the idea of continuing to persuade. After all, his relationship with Yulongdu is not close enough to talk about everything. The reason why he reminded him is because Yulongdu has an equally good attitude towards him. Superior. Again. He himself also plans to participate in the Pokémon World Championship, and by then, no matter how the so-called 8 masters are sorted. But the throne of the strongest king can only hold him alone. Kalal region waters, west, 112 nautical miles. CFED. Nameless island in the sky. You really don't need to open the door. Or I'll let the plane take you up directly. Don't be so troublesome. Bai Zi rejected Yulongdu's kindness with a light smile, and after hugging the slightly nervous and shy girl's slim waist, he waved to Yulongdu. Championship, see you next time. The voice just fell. Next second, Bai Zi and Selena in his arms disappeared directly from Yulongdu's eyes. Superpowers. Yulongdu was a little stunned, and his excellent eyesight made him quickly aware of the 2 Bai Zi who appeared out of thin air not far below, and the 2 people who appeared from the waist behind him, dragging the 2 of Bai Zi. The giant gold monster that rises. A chuckle. Then he turned to look at the crew in the front row. Okay, let's keep going. Bai Zi, who was in the air, glanced at the flying machine above. Subsequently, turning his eyes to the tightly closed eyes, leaning on Serena in his arms. Don't be afraid, try to open your eyes and see, this kind of scenery is quite rare. While he exerted a little force, Serena's dangling feet also landed on the solid back of the giant golden monster. Feet landing on the ground made Serena feel a little relieved. I know. Then, while subconsciously replying to Bai Zi, he narrowed his eyes a little bit tremblingly. The blue sky and white clouds, the blue waves were like washing. It is indeed a rare beauty. So beautiful. Serena, who couldn't help being a little intoxicated, finally opened her eyes completely. Under the eye. He also clearly saw his own situation. He was still in midair, but surrounded by a layer of burning white transparent mask as thin as the wings of a cicada. The solid touch under your feet is not the ground, but a silver-white steel behemoth full of security. Golden monster. Selena was stunned for a moment, then immediately supported by Z with one hand, squatted down carefully, and stroked the top of the giant golden monster's head. Thank you, the giant golden monster. Terry tilde. A dull response followed. The corners of Bai Zi's mouth twitched slightly. And as the giant golden monster gradually flew downward, soon, a square island with a circle of lavender energy shields in the center gradually came into sight of the two of them. Quote. Here we are. 473. Sonia, do you think I'm stupid? With a slight humming sound, the giant golden monster slowly fell. Bai Zi jumped down first, and then reached out to help Serena down. Thank you, tilde. Serena politely thanked her, and after looking around, she turned her eyes to the purple arc-shaped energy shield not far away. Is that where the steel-armored crow is held, tilde? Well, it's here. Bai Zi nodded slightly, his tone affirmed. After setting foot on this nameless island, his keen mind sense had already sensed the violent and disorderly energy factor. Not to mention that Kang Xiang had reminded him of the gigantic life that existed on this island as early as the first time. His own aerospace aircraft carrier was indeed still on this island. Then we now. Serena looked at Bai Zi tentatively, looking like she was ready to go. Yulongdu and Bai Zi didn't avoid her at all in the conversation between Yulongdu and Bai Zi before. Although Serena didn't quite understand it, she probably understand that the trip may not be as smooth as a trip to Union headquarters. Total and MN. She was ready to fight. Don't be in a hurry. Facing Serena's inquiry, Bai Zi acted unhurriedly. He pressed Serena's small hand that touched her waist, and squeezed it habitually with a playful expression. Always give the guys inside a little time to stand in line, otherwise, what if I hit the wrong person and bring disaster to Chiyu? But before that, with Serena's soft little hands, Bai Zi turned his eyes to the left, and a scorching white streamer flashed away from the bottom of his eyes. Mosquito-sized metal particles emerged from the black smoke and fell from the air. This is invisible electronic eye. It seems that they should have received the news of my coming in advance. But instead of sending someone to greet him directly, he used electronic eyes to spy on. Tisk tilde. Bai Zi's eyes were inexplicable. Position 11, inside the shield. Monitoring room. Thorn. Looking at the monitor with a black screen in front of him, a bald man in a work uniform and a coat turned black. On the side, the sturdy man in military uniform with arms around his chest also grinned suddenly. It seems that the visitor is not good. And not far away. A young and beautiful fashionable girl with green eyes and orange hair, with heart-shaped hair accessories pinned to her wavy ponytail, immediately pouted. As the leader of the research team sent from the Kallo region, Sonia also knows the core and most important, holding items, about the number 11 warehouse. That only maintains. The steel-armored crow in the supergiant form has been handed over the ownership. And its new owner is the silver-haired boy who appeared on the screen before. It is said that he is a star trainer who has caused quite a stir in Kanto and other places. Kallo is located in a remote location, and she hasn't been out of position 11 island very much recently, so Zeroa doesn't know much about it. These are still the transfer traffic received not long ago. After knowing it, I went online to check it out. But she knew one thing. It was promised by the leader of the alliance Dao Mao Lanqi himself, and the Yulongdu champion who captured this steel-armored crow personally issued the handover order. It is indeed reasonable and legal for the other party to take the steel-armored crow. But, obviously, Mitsui, who is the top person in charge of the number 11 position, and William, the commander of the Special Forces team in charge of the island's security, don't think so. Miss Sonia, what's your opinion? At this moment, Mitsui turned his head and asked Zoroha, who was secretly slandering. Huh. Sonia was stunned when she heard the words, and then she said with a sudden realization expression. Oh, you're talking about the handover of the steel armor crow, right? I'm going to consolidate the team and prepare to evacuate the number 11 position island. With that, she got up and left. Wait. Mitsui was suddenly anxious, and after calling out Sonia, in the eyes of the other party's doubt, he focused on his words and said. Didn't you always want to send the steel-armored crow back to Kalal? But if the steel-armored crow really falls into the hands of this kid, don't talk about repatriation in the future, even if you want to do it now. Research, I am afraid it is difficult to achieve. Pound. Ooh, really. Sonia, who had already grabbed the door handle, looked at Mitsui with a shocked expression. Of course. Mitsui nodded hurriedly. After all, the other party is a trainer. How could he just give his elf to others to study? You say no. ... Ask for flowers. Needless to say. Sonia interrupted Mitsui's words, and said with a serious face, I already know the seriousness of the matter, I will immediately inform Grandma. After finishing speaking, without waiting for Mitsui to reply, Sonia pushed open the door and rushed out. Soon. There was a sound of stomping Martin boots in the corridor, and it was getting farther and farther. Inside the room. When Mitsui and Sonia were talking, William kept his eyes closed and opened his eyes. Are you trying to drag these people from Kalal into the water? Accurately speaking, it's the person behind Sonia. Mitsui waved his fingers, stroked the sparse hair on his forehead lightly, with an expression on his face holding Jeju. I checked the identity of this little girl. Her grandmother is the most famous blogger in the Galar area. One of the scholars, and she and the champion of the Kalal region are still childhood sweethearts. 0. Dandy. William immediately spit out the name. Being in the sea near Kalal, he could deeply feel the weight of the name Dandy. That is not inferior to the reputation of Longshudu in the Gwandu area, and powerful. So what's next? William asked. Next. Mitsui was stunned for a moment, and then sighed softly. The next thing is to wait. I hope Sonia and this kid can be a little more impulsive. At the same time, Sonia, who was impulsively hoped by Mitsui's heart, had already greeted the research teams in the Galar region. These people are basically the brothers and sisters of her grandmother, Dr. Mulan. Although it is not that there is no objection, they finally complied with Sonia's decision. In the bedroom. After putting on the last piece of clothing, she picked up the collar at her feet and walked out of the room. Sonia, who passed by the transparent glass wall of the control room, looked at the remote control on the energy console, and immediately a bead turns. At the corner of his mouth, a little fox-like snicker suddenly appeared. HMPH, it's even planned on Miss Ben's head. Let's see if I don't let you suffer a big loss first. P.S. Sonia tilde begging. 474. Dual-wielding mad magic demon firefox, sky giant ship steel armor crow. The other side. After destroying the prying invisible electronic eyes with his mind power, Baizi beckoned Serena to release the demon red fox. Although Serena was a little puzzled, she still took out the Pokeball very obediently. Lightly. Immediately. In the white light unique to the Pokeball, a graceful red fox standing upright appeared in front of the two of them. Oh woo tilde. Looking around, after seeing the same confused expression of his master, the demon fire red fox followed Serena's line of sight and moved to Bai Zi's body. The wooden staff in his hand danced unconsciously, bringing the starting point of Mars. But just as it was about to deflect its gaze again, it saw Bai Zi suddenly throw something at him. Demon fire red fox, then. Oh woo. Expression was puzzled, 390, but the red fox was still swiftly waving its claws to catch the long object that flew in midair. Things just started. Haven't had time to check it out yet. The demon fire red fox was shocked all over. At this moment, it seemed to fall into the warm fire spring in an instant, and up and down the whole body, there was also a wash and purification error. Feel. No, it's not an illusion. The demon fire red fox's keen spiritual sense sensed a series of changes in his body very clearly at this moment. The body is being optimized, the dark wounds are being healed, the spirit, energy level and even their own vitality have been increased one by one. And, although this growth decreased a lot later, it did not stop, but continued to give the demon fire red fox a constant wash from the inside out. Not only that. Woo tilde. The demon fire red fox opened his eyes, accompanied by a soft moan, and his claws danced. A spark of sparks emerged, and then continued to expand and imitate, in midair, imitating into a man and a woman, fluttering with each other. Dance, hug and kiss. Sip. Selena suddenly had hot smoke on her head, and she shouted with embarrassment, Demon. Fire. Red. Fox. Hee tilde. The demon fire red fox dissipated the flames with a smirk, and gave Bai Zi a look of, how is this reward, causing Bai Zi to cry and laugh. That man and woman just now lifelike, its image is clearly the appearance of Bai Zi and Serena. Bai Zi shook his head with a chuckle, and then asked the demon fire red fox, how is this thing still working together? Oh tilde. The demon fire red fox nodded again and again, obviously not satisfied anymore. But then, it looked slightly hesitantly at the wooden staff held in its other paw. The one bestowed by Bai Zi was obviously better, but this one was also carefully chosen by her since the long-tailed firefox period. With its growth and evolution, it is also difficult to let go. Quite nostalgic, Bai Zi saw the constraints of the demon fire red fox, and suddenly reminded with a chuckle, wouldn't it be better to keep it all? Woo. The demon fire red fox suddenly looked like he was holding the two wooden sticks in his hands, one left and one right. He looked left, looked right, and his face was full of joy. Please call me, dual-wielding madman, Demon Daofu. This is a branch of the Tree of Life. Serena, who was finally relieved, looked at one of the wooden sticks in the hands of the demon fire red fox, and said slightly hesitantly, such a precious thing. If it's not precious enough, how can I take it as a gift for my little Serena? Bai Zi interrupted with a smile. Subsequently, he reached out and rubbed the top of Serena's head again. Hee tilde. Serena shrank her head, and then took the initiative to push Bai Zi's palm. Thanks to Bai Zi's continuous close contact, Serena, who had no defense against Bai Zi, was basically attacked by him. Almost. At this moment, in some unspeakable games, the intimacy progress bar displayed above Serena's head should be constantly +1+1+1. It has completely turned into a pink heart, right? And right now. The energy shield, which was about 200 meters away from the two, seemed to be suddenly powered off, and gradually dissipated in a flash of flickering and blurring. And as this huge curtain of energy completely dissipated, its interior. In the center of the fragmented buildings and instruments, a huge steel bird with red eyes and a body length of at least 15 meters was bound and imprisoned in place by countless chains with the thickness of the mouth of the bull. There are pictures and texts all over the chains, like blood-sucking vines constantly absorbing the energy of this bird of prey. The large machine branches that are connected to the chains are constantly operating, and pieces of lavender crystals are spit out from the rear entrances and exits. Bai Zi has seen this origin crystal that Yulongdu had shown him before, which was delivered from the Kalol region. Okay, what a huge bird sprite. Serena's eyes widened, Even though she had expected it, the actual viewing still gave her a huge shock. On the side of Baizi, the power of Baizi was activated for the first time. Next second, the data panel of the steel-armored crow suddenly appeared in his eyes one by one. Race: Steel-armored crow, permanent supergiant. Attribute: Flight, steel. Characteristic: Mirror armor, Monty. Only reflects the ability reduction effect that you receive, great power. Level: Heavenly King Peak, level 69, 99 100ths. Potential: Quasi-God 4.3. HP: 98, Attack: 87, Defense: 105, Special Attack: 53, Special Defense: 85, Speed: 67. Exclusive skill: Super Cyclone Sweeping. Skills: Steel Wing, Drilling, Claw Grinding, Arrogance, Iron Wall, Staring, Bash, Metal Sound, Bravery, Destruction of Death, Brave Bird Attack. Genetic skill: Divine Bird Slam. Status: Confused, Weak, Extremely Impotent. Introduction: During the Elf Egg period, he inadvertently merged into the core-shattering steel-armored crow of Wujitai. He has a giant organ similar to the core of Wujitai in his body, which can permanently maintain the supergiant. Changed, but due to the influence of enormous energy, unable to maintain sanity. 475, Powerless Struggle. How to say? The attribute panel of this steel-armored crow looks quite satisfactory to Baizi. Or, it's nothing unexpected from Baizi's expectations. The supergiant's exclusive trick brought by the permanent supergiant transformation, the extreme lack of energy caused by the energy-draining chain, as well as the supergiant effect produced by Wujitaina. The only thing that can be considered as a harvest is the still unknown information about the extremely giant organ. But all in all, is quite satisfied with the future space aircraft carrier he has chosen. And extremely giant organ, possessed by the steel-armored crow, might have an alternative development potential. But the most important thing now is to subdue this steel-armored crow as soon as possible, and then try to alleviate or even eliminate the negative impact of the enormous energy on it. It's not difficult to take. After all, he has an unreasonable catch ball that will surely catch the opponent as long as he throws it. And alleviating, or even eliminating the negative effects of extremely huge energy, is also exactly the field that his own, Power of Baizi, is good at. These are exactly what he learned about the series of steel armor crows. Constrained but still did not hesitate to choose the root cause of the other party. Come on, it's time for us to meet the new members. What's the matter? Mitsui felt that he was going to be mad. At this time, he still had a half-pointed Jirju in his hands. Originally he thought, well, drag Kalal's little girl into the water first, and if there is any accountability at that time, you can completely push 2, 5 or 6. And hear yourself. Although it is not easy to obstruct the other party, it is completely possible to implement a drag decision. So what if it comes? I can pretend not to notice, as long as I don't open the source crystal protection wall. Can you still force it to break through? To know. This is the final defense of number 11 warehouse. With its strength, Mitsui is fully confident to defend against a champion-level energy-level attack. But now, was it withdrawn so vaguely? Mitsui only felt that his forehead was congested, and William's face on one side was equally unsightly. At this time, jingle bell. The communicator in the monitoring room suddenly sounded, and Mitsui picked up the microphone, and without waiting for the other side to speak, he immediately scolded angrily. What are you guys doing? Is it the source crystal wall that bastard revoked? Do you not want to do anything at all? You guys. Enough. William took the microphone off his hands. Now what we need to do is to figure out what the problem is. Think about countermeasures, not incompetent and furious. After he finished speaking, he didn't care about Mitsui's purplish red face. Putting the microphone to his ear, he said solemnly, Tell me, what's going on? Yes. The staff on the side of the communicator hurriedly told the story like pouring beans. The thing is like this. 2 minutes ago, Miss Sonia broke into the control room, saying that she had to return to Kal-El in an urgent matter, and then directly close the origin crystal wall regardless of our obstruction, and led Kal-El to study the scholars of the team left directly in an independent aircraft. Quote. William's forehead suddenly burst out with obvious blue veins, and his palm unconsciously exerted force. Click underscore. The microphone was suddenly crushed by the tyrannical grip. Look at Mitsui. He almost squeezed out of his teeth and said, it's Sonia, and she has already run away. What? Mitsui's eyes widened immediately. But before he could ask further questions, he was interrupted again by William. Okay, stop talking nonsense. I'll take the special forces to intimidate first. You can rebuild the source crystal wall as soon as possible. The matter has come to this point. We can only do our best. After building the source crystal wall, we will start to drain energy at full power. Don't worry about the life of the crow. Before the Alliance Commissioner arrives, do everything possible. As much as possible to draw source crystal. With such a fortune, even if the skin on the body is pulled out, there is no way to go there. I don't want the child to be trapped in the wolf, so I will use the stored source crystal to build a wall as soon as possible, understand? Mitsui. Okay, yes, I know. In the face of William's strong gaze, Mitsui, who has 6 gods and no masters, has to nod again and again. Although he is very clear that once the full power is drained, the huge energy in the steel-armored crow will be transformed. The balance is likely to be broken. By the time, even if it doesn't die, it's almost abolished. Huh. Selena, who had already retracted the demon fire red fox, was just approaching the edge where the energy shield rose before, and Baizi looked up at the midair as if he had noticed something. I saw that under the leadership of a strong leader riding a tropical dragon, a team of fully armed sparrow knights lined up in human form in midair, galloping towards the two of them. Under the induction of Baizi's power, the almost undisguised surging maliciousness was like the lights of the eternal night. Tisk tilde. Next second. It was as if he sensed Baizi's displeasure. Terry tilde. Accompanied by a slightly angry pondering, the invisible power suddenly surged into the air, capturing all the 13 pairs of 390 elf knights that had already flown in front of them. Immediately, the 13 Special Forces members, including William, felt as if they were wrapped in a layer of tough plastic wrap. They couldn't move, even, couldn't breathe. How dare he? William struggled to look at Baizi, who didn't look up at all. His face was flushed, and his eyes were bloodshot. Forget about making a sound. The dizziness is getting stronger and stronger, but he can't wait for him to pass out completely. Accompanying Ju, the world was spinning, and the severe pain, like a broken back, made his consciousness wake up for a short while. The last bit of consciousness, only to see a slender leg striding over his head. Yes, damn it. Even in a coma, William couldn't believe that the opponent would make such a decisive move, and himself. However, his powerless struggle was not without effect. At least. When Baizi was about to move forward again. The lavender, source crystal, wall rises up instantly. So powerless. 476. Steel-armored crow gets out. Hypergiant vs. Mega Evolution. Call. Origin crystal, protective wall rising from the display screen, and suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, he was indeed a little scared by the boy outside. Although hearsay says that this young man named Baizi is very powerful, he is what is called a monster-level rookie. But this kind of information without real feeling is completely without the shock of such an intuitive, seeing is believing. After all, William is also the captain of the special forces directly under the Alliance. Although he is incomparable to those numbered troops, he is a real quasi-king and 12 elite special forces. Putting it there should be quite a force. In the face of a child who I heard was only set out this year. Even if they met each other, the whole army was wiped out. What the hell? Are you afraid of being a fake quasi-king? Certainly. Another reason that frightened him was the decisiveness of the opponent's shot. That feeling is not like coming to get things at all, but more like an elf hunter who comes up to grab things. Wipe. Mitsui cursed inwardly, but when he looked at the purple shield raised in the display, he finally let his heart down a little. But then, thinking of the source crystal storage that was consumed in order to speed up the construction of the source crystal wall, Mitsui felt distressed. But he thought about it again. Looking at William's appearance, it is obvious that he is neither dead nor disabled. If he runs, he probably won't be able to throw it away. Then, does it mean that he has completely swallowed his share? Think here. Mitsui's pair of big eyes suddenly lifted up. But just when he was about to enjoy unlimited enjoyment, a staff member with a brown doll head suddenly exclaimed. 3. Mr. Mitsui Kang. Come on, come and see. Scare, _. Mitsui was taken aback and was about to reprimand. Available in the next second. Through the display screen pointed to by the staff member, Mitsui suddenly froze. This. Tilde. Only seen on the display screen. Source crystal, wall that was supposed to be extremely smooth, at this moment, was twisted and deformed by external forces like rubber. Subsequently, under Mitsui's unbelievable gaze, a pair of bright yellow steel claws pierced straight in, followed by silver white arms, and a disc body marked with an X. _. It was followed by an obvious tremor. Original crystal shield, which was claimed to be able to resist champion-level energy-level attacks, shattered in an instant and turned into countless lavender crystal dots of light. Mitsui's eyes were splitting. He couldn't believe what he saw in front of him. That silver-white shining giant gold monster broke through himself completely with brute force. The proud, final defense system of the number 1 position. Wait, not good. At this moment, Mitsui seemed to remember something again, and his body suddenly froze. If the origin crystal protective wall is normally switched on and off, nothing will happen, but once it is forced like this when the line breaks, the sudden energy level change will inevitably affect the entire energy transmission system inside the number 11 position. Especially now that he has turned on the full power of the energy draining device, the entire energy transmission system is likely to collapse. And once the entire energy system collapses, it means sip beep. As if to confirm Mitsui's concerns, the instruments in the control room suddenly exploded like a cannonball, billowing thick smoke. Subsequently, wow, _. With a creepy feeling of suffocation, a sharp and piercing scream suddenly resounded. Have you freed yourself from the bondage? After witnessing the energy shield being forcibly torn apart by the giant gold monster, it seemed like a chain reaction was triggered. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly. Have to admit. Extreme giant, and even super giant elves, the increase in physique and energy level is quite terrifying. The pure physical strength of the steel-armored crow can cause the earth to shake at every turn, and it is not say. That body surging unconsciously, the huge energy level that is almost visible to the naked eye is enough to make Baizi feel a little speechless. To know. At this time, on the data panel of the steel-armored crow, the words weak and extremely incapacitated were clearly written. Perverted. Baizi is not sure whether all the gigantic transformations have such a degree of physique and energy level increase, but even if it is only a part of it, the extreme giant transformation will certainly be no less inferior a means of augmentation for mega evolution. Only one focuses on strengthening and multiplication of physique and energy level, while the other focuses on transition and transformation of life forms. I just don't know which one has a stronger increase in combat power compared to mega evolution under the same circumstances. Such thoughts flashed through Baizi's mind almost subconsciously. And this moment, Lee. The steel-armored crow, which finally broke free from the last energy-draining chain, hissed up to the sky, but the vibration of its wings suddenly caused a burst of flying sand and rocks. But the first time it got out of trouble, it didn't go berserk, but ran to the front of a ginning device, good promise, with a very clear target. A huge steel claw swipe. Squeak again and again. With the harsh sound of metal grinding, purple crystals scattered all over the place. The steel-armored crow twisted its neck at will, and after sweeping the top of the energy-absorbing machine that had been cut with several huge gaps aside, it began to eat like a chicken pecking at rice. One bite at a time. It didn't take a moment for the crystal to be swallowed up. Immediately afterwards, the steel-armored crow repeated its old tricks and came to another energy-draining device, and began the repeated foraging action as before. And as the steel-armored crows continue to devour those source crystal, spar stones that are transformed by enormous energy. Its breath. It is also almost visible to the naked eye and gradually increased. 477. Promise Tai Na. It's just a charging treasure, please order all. Is it possible to directly swallow the huge energy to recover? This is a bit interesting. A ray of light flashed in Bai Zi's eyes. To know. Ordinary giant transformation and even super giant transformation elves just use, or borrow the energy points generated by the fragments of Wuji Tai to complete the giant transformation. This point is actually somewhat similar to the use of the ultimate aura in the Z move, in the Alola region. And different from Mega Evolution. Although it also needs Keystone and Super Stone to activate, but its essence is to tap the hidden power of the elves themselves. Simply put, giant transformation and Z move are purely external forces, while Mega Evolution is to excite itself through external forces. And according to the research results of Dr. Mulan, the most famous gigantic scholar in the Kalo region, the elves themselves did not become larger when they became gigantic. It is a special manifestation that distorts space by the special energy released in the body when it becomes giant, and doubles the size, weight and height of the elf. Does that sound a bit contradictory? It's actually easy to understand. You can almost make an analogy to the Susanoo in Naruto 390. The appearance of extremely large can be regarded as a kind of energy fake, formed by special energy. Not really gigantic anymore. But this is also normal. After all, in the final analysis, the phenomenon of extreme giant transformation is a mutation effect caused by the overflow of Wuji Tana's energy. Is pure external force. Ordinary elves can only borrow, mobilize, and not absorb at most. Even in the face of Wuji Tai Na, the ability of the giant transformation will also be easily sealed by the opponent and cannot be used. As for absorbing the energy of the gigantic energy point, that is the only privilege that only the owner of Wuji Tana, the giant energy, has. And now, a second genie who can do this appears. What's the role of the extremely giant organ? Bai Zi vaguely guessed that the key reason why the steel-armored crow was able to do this might be the inconspicuous, giant organ. And since the steel-armored raven can recover its injuries like Wuji Tai's recovery of huge energy points, CFED, then, can it also rely on the huge energy that devours those temporarily unowned point, and make their own strength be enhanced? Bai Zi couldn't help but start brainstorming. Because once his guess came true, then the future of the steel-armored crow will be equivalent to having a grand avenue in front of it. Promise tied that this evil god from an alien planet may become a steel-armored crow and step into the realm of the gods, and maybe even a higher exclusive, charging treasure. Thinking of this, Bai Zi's eyes became brighter and brighter. And right now, Terry Tilda. Perhaps it was because of the sense of power brought by the steel-armored crow's huge figure that was full of oppression, and the breath of the giant golden monster standing beside Bai Zi, which made him a little restless. Bai Zi naturally noticed the restless aura from the giant golden monster for the first time, and immediately leaned over with a chuckle and knocked on the top of the big guy's head. "Don't worry, it's not time yet, I'll give you a chance to shoot." Terry Tilda. The giant golden monster who got by Z's promise quickly nodded and continued to stretch his mind power to block the flying sand and stone caused by the more reckless actions of the steel-armored crow. Time flies. As the steel-armored crow quickly devoured the source crystal, in the energy-absorbing device in the number 11 position, its aura suddenly soared to the top, and the whole body exuded dark red. Reflective. But I don't know if it's because of the extremely giant organ. The steel-armored crow is like a special case of the crown king who can be extremely giant, and there is no lingering red cloud seen. Wow! Giant source crystal, that could be swallowed had been used up. The steel-armored crow suddenly fluttered up and let out a bright screeching sound. Subsequently, accompanied by the increasingly tyrannical red light in his eyes, a huge amount of enormous energy and flight factors converged on the pair of steel wings of the steel-armored crow. As it spreads its wings, in an instant, the endless gust of wind turned into a dark red tornado that connected the sky and the earth. The moment the tornado was formed, the strong suction swept everything around it, and was twisted into pieces for a short time. Even the protective house made of super alloy is like a paper paste when facing the dark red tornado. Indistinctly, bursts of desperate cries for help emanating from the protective house were also swept away by the sudden gust of wind, and were instantly drowned. Supergiant whirlwinds swept through. Hurricanes swept through. The vibration from the knocking on the earth caused the entire island to be easily shaken by this blow, and the aftermath of the ring-shaped shock swept away the vegetation on the island in an instant, and the sky was filled with sand and dust. In the smokescreen. Fung, fung. The strong sound of wings spreading, accompanied by the strong wind pressure, blew the smoke screen again, and the steel-armored crow, who was about to leave, immediately found the only remaining fruit on the island, the 2x and the giant golden monster. Wow! The steel-armored crow, which had basically no sane residue, raised its head and screamed again, but its huge body was not bloated at all. Usually, the sharp claws are caught in the direction of BZ. One by one, a huge leap. This air-flying claw attack covered BZ, Selena, and the giant golden monster. The turbulent wind accompanied the shadows, and its might was like a giant spaceship slamming down on you. The speed of the gigantic elf looks like it is not fast, but that is just the visual difference caused by the huge size. The steel-armored crow was covered with one claw, and it was shrouded in almost instantly, and there was no way to avoid it. But BZ also had no plans to avoid it. Sigh. The roaring sound like a twilight drum and a morning bell was awe-inspiring, and this turbulent blow even caused a slight collapse of the ground that had not been touched all around. But there was no way to shake the layer on top of BZ's head, the thin light blue psychic shield. Terry Tilda. The giant golden monster turned his head, and his dark red eyes flickered fiercely. Go! BZ laughed suddenly, and caressed the top of Serena's head as she stepped into his arms in a soothing manner. His voice was slow and steady. Let this guy have a good experience before joining the team. What is really powerful? 478. Hammer of the Storm, conquer the steel armor crow. Terry Tilda. The red glow of the giant golden monster's eyes flickered more and more quickly. Look at you. BZ gave the giant golden monster a pay attention look, and then, after the giant golden monster replied with a look of don't worry, the white light flashed and disappeared under the thought force supported by the giant golden monster inside the shield. And almost at the moment when BZ and Serena left. Terry Tilda. The giant golden monster, who immediately removed the shield of the power of thought, without taking any precautions, was snapped to the ground by the top-down claws of the steel-armored crow. Boom! The air exploded, the earth and stones splashed, and in the violent vibration, the ground was centered on the steel-armored crow's claw, and the dust and smoke spread wildly. This is the giant gold monster, all right. In the air not far away, Serena, whose body was half leaning on BZ, saw this and asked worriedly. Bai Zi shook his head and chuckled. Don't worry, that guy just wants to have a good time, it's taking the initiative to revoke the psychic protection. Have fun, have fun. Selena's face suddenly became ignorant. She just took such a terrifying blow so hard that she wanted to have fun. Serena was a little confused. But then, she knew why the giant gold monster had such confidence in Yaxing to do this. In the field, after confirming that the little bug under its claws was pressed to death, the steel-armored crow crushed its claws again, and its expression was not less irritable, and then turned its gaze to the air again. Yu Zubai's psychic protection, the 2 Bai Zi in the hood. Feng. The steel-armored crow fluttered its wings, flying sand and rocks, and when it was about to fly, it suddenly found that its right paw seemed to be stuck on the ground. No matter how fast it spreads its wings, it cannot shake it in the slightest. Good tilde. In such a situation, even the steel-armored crow, who was in the midst of irrational irritability, couldn't understand it. Pulled hard again. The steel-armored crow, who still didn't see it at all, had to stick his head down and look at his right paw with his head turned sideways. But the next moment, poof, a silver-white metal claw suddenly emerged from under the ground. The claw of the steel-armored crow stretched out, and the bright yellow claws tightly clasped the air outlet on the side of the steel-armored crow's beak. Good tilde. The extreme shock caused the steel-armored crow, who was deeply in the rage, to be a little stunned. But next second, not waiting for it to make any struggles, the violent and incomparable giant force suddenly hit, and the line of sight suddenly reversed. The whole bird was like a light toy. It was swayed by the opponent, pulled from the ground, and smashed heavily on the ground on one side. At the moment of landing, the huge force that was completely poured out showed its horror. Rumbling one by one, in a deafening roar, the ground nearby collapsed or rose like a block of blocks, and the ground on the south side of the entire island was like a dragon turning over, and it was destroyed in an instant. It's not over yet. When the steel-armored crow was smashed, the giant golden monster crawling out from under the ground let go of the opponent's beak and only grabbed one of the steel-armored crow's steel claw. A slight run-up. Drive forward by the magnetic force. Immediately, the giant golden monster clutching a steel claw took advantage of the situation and threw its arm twice, directly dragging the steel-armored crow that had just slowed down a little, and smashed heavily on the other side of the body. The earth and rocks tumbled, and the smoke, impact, and vibration came again. This obviously more powerful blow caused nearly half of the steel-armored crow's huge body to sink into the ground. Although it didn't actually cause any damage, these 2 blows obviously made the steel-armored crow extremely angry. Seeing it can't break free for a while, suddenly, there was a frantic, shrill cry like metal grinding. Wow! In this mournful sound, Dao sound waves like substance spread wantonly, and instantly swept across the body of the giant golden monster. Moment. A faint dashed white light flashed by. The special defense of the giant golden monster was weakened. Metallic sound. Bai Zi recognized at a glance the types of skills that Steel Armor Crow used at this time, and suddenly raised his eyebrows in surprise. To know. The gigantic elf, although all the original moves will be sublimated to the gigantic ultimate move, producing an attack-boosting effect like a multiplier. But this absolutely powerful strength, but it cannot be achieved by giving up some skills, or more specifically, changes like staring and claws. Used for the price. Metallic sound is naturally classified as one of them. But right now, this supergiant steel-armored crow is in a permanent state, but in the midst of rage, he resorted to the transformation-type trick, metallic sound. This is the privilege that Wujitai only has. Interesting. Bai Zi looked at the steel-armored crow with more and more satisfaction. Ask for flowers. And this moment. Relying on this unexpected move, Metal Tone, the steel-armored crow, who got a brief respite, once again showed its excellent fighting instinct. A super cyclone swept through. A super cyclone swept through. A super cyclone swept through. In one breath, the steel-armored crow bursting out of nearly all energy levels merged several tornadoes, surging and filtering frantically around his body, and the formed air outlet instantly turned into a substantial weight. Hit the giant gold monster and hit it suddenly. The supergiant whirlwind swept the hammer of the storm. Excellent fighting instinct. The admiration in Bai Zi's eyes was even greater. And on the field, facing the blow of the steel-armored crow, the giant golden monster, who was easily relieved from the additional influence of the metallic sound, was not angry but happy. 0. It directly released the claws of the steel-armored crow. Take a leap. Pushed by the sudden burst of magnetic force, he went straight to the storm hammer that fell down. Sip _. A dull crash shook the atmosphere. And then, Terry tilde used the lightning fist claws to withstand the storm hammer, suddenly spun up, sparks overflowing, and in the sour noise, the giant golden monster turned into a drill in an instant. It broke through the storm hammer, and completely smashed the materialized flight-type energy factor. Violently hit the steel-armored crow's chin. The ultimate impact. Sip _. The gas explosion spreads like a ring. Immediately, the crimson eyes of the steel-armored crow turned white for a while, and the body was like a machine that suddenly stopped running. After drawing an arc from the air, it crashed to the ground. The battle is over. The dark red reflections attached to the outside of its body suddenly dimmed. I tentatively used a luxury ball to try to contain it, but the light that wrapped the steel-armored crow suddenly burst open before it fully entered. Can't. Had to change the capture ball from the crystal. Toss lightly. The pokeball turned around like an automatic cruise and hit the next shot of the steel-armored crow, which was still in a coma, and successfully contained it. Snapped tilde. Capture ball, that bounced over. The corners of Bai Zi's mouth suddenly raised slightly. Eternal supergiant steel-armored crow, subdue it. ... Begging _. 479. Well done. Please order all. Call. Selena stepped on the ground twice with her little feet, feeling the peace of mind on the ground, and then turned to look at Bai Zi. Congratulations, brother Bai Zi. Don't be so polite to me. Bai Zi slapped Serena's forehead with a chuckle, and then rubbed the girl again with the other party's cute, ah-woo, sound. Okay, although this guy was successfully captured by me, but if he wants to really use it for me, it depends on its fortune. Creation. Looking at the elf ball in Bai Zi's hand, the girl with red cheeks tilted her head in confusion. Bai Zi responded, and then turned his gaze to the pokeball. Inside the translucent red crystal wall, the minimized, steel-armored crow was constantly surging with dark red like lightning. Huge energy. But none of these runaway energy, 3 nines, can spread out of the steel-armored crow's body, as if there is a layer of invisible power, imprisoning it in this little bit. Next second. It was as if an invisible warm wind rose, brushing the ends of Bai Zi and Serena's hair. This is. A flash of brilliance flashed in Serena's eyes. Such a warm feeling, is this what makes brother Bai Zi different? And at the same time, in the pokeball, suddenly, the steel-armored crow, who was in a coma, seemed to flash a pure white scene at this moment. The consciousness that was originally immersed in the violent quagmire all the time seemed to be washed away by an incomparably warm force. Wrap it in a handful. Pull up. Like breaking through the dark river of violent quagmire, in the constant, floating, the steel-armored crow gradually wakes up, for the first time in its life. Well, it doesn't quite understand the word, but this the unspeakable peace made its heart give birth to infinite nostalgia. I don't want to lose, I want to stay in this moment forever. But then, fatigue, brought by this peace, invaded its mind again. The steel-armored crow deeply remembered the breath of Bai Zi, and slowly, immersed in a peaceful dream. A good dream. Slowly opening his eyes, Baizi couldn't hide the tiredness of the eyes flashed with an obvious tenderness and pity. Although, the power of Baizi does not have the ability to touch the soul. However, at the same time is a spiritual master. After successfully pulling the steel-armored crow out of the quagmire of rage, the opponent no longer had any resistance, and the message from his completely open heart naturally couldn't escape past Baizi's eyes. It can be said, rage, since birth, is almost no different from the consciousness of a newborn cub. It can be regarded as an alternative freshman, right? Welcome to join, Steel Armor Crow. Baizi said with a light smile. After he put away the capture ball with the steel-armored crow, he rubbed his slightly bulging eyebrows. Baizi's power does wonders for calming the mind and purifying abnormal states. Obviously not an easy task to pull the steel-armored crow's consciousness out of the raging quagmire formed by the enormous energy in one breath, and remove its negative effects. Don't say anything else. In such a moment and a half, the consumption of elf power is enough for Baizi to fight with a super-type elf who has just entered the realm of heaven for hundreds of rounds. Before fainting, it was already burning high incense. Of course. He didn't get nothing either. You use the power of Baizi to successfully appease and purify the steel-armored crow, with a little gain, the ability value experience plus 20, and a random ability is upgraded. Selected. Open black lens bracket complete selection. Superpower close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket superpower level +1 close black lens bracket. Ding! Your superpower level has completed a breakthrough. Top 6072 10,000ths. In the system beeps one after another. Everything, like a matter of course. The whole process did not reveal the slightest breath, and Baizi silently and successfully broke through to the top superpower. The spiritual power of confrontation. Call. Baizi exhaled slightly, and after opening his eyes again, the tiredness in his eyes was instantly swept away. Okay, it's time for us to move on. Then the next goal is. Facing Serena's inquiring gaze, Baizi skillfully embraced the opponent's slender waist and jumped onto the solid and flat back of the giant golden monster. Kalal. At the same time, the Kalal region. Gongmin City. Inside the Palace Gate Arena. At this moment, the Palace Gate Arena is full of jubilation, and there are huge crowds of shouts and cheers everywhere. Trainer Showdown. One by one Dan Emperor. And, Yulongdu. Because today, Gongmin Arena will welcome two people standing at the top of the trainer. However, it was clear that the cheers of Dan D, who had home advantage, resounded through the entire Gongmin Arena with an overwhelming advantage. Backstage. Training course. I am really sorry for Yulongdu champion, because of the hasty preparations, we only help you get used to the giant transformation of the elf, the tyrannical carp dragon. Look at this. It's nothing, it's just an exhibition match, and the same is true for me using Tyrannosaurus. Yulongdu waved his hand and looked at the Pokeball in his hand, but he didn't embarrass the staff who nodded and bowed in front of him. Just in time, it's time for this guy to try and compete with the top champions. The elves have come to a formal confrontation. Done. He threw his cloak and strode away in the electronic sound that prompted him to come on stage. And it was not long after Yulongdu left. Ta! Accompanied by the crisp stomping sound of leather shoes. 4.3-inch beard, one hand in his pocket, and a rather stylish single bangs in a big back, walked slowly out of the corner. Good job. P.S. Next, it's the World Championships. Recently, because I'm busy with moving house, it's really a bit slow to write. I'll be ready to sort out the plot tomorrow, and then officially start the second stage. Championship chapter. It is estimated that the whole map will be running around, the story of the theater version will be interspersed in the middle, and Baizi's strength will be accumulated again. When this stage is finished, it will be the last the decisive battle chapter of, and that will also be the time when the book ends. Okay, let's guess the initial ranking of the tournament. 8 Masters. 480. The new king has reached the top. World rankings announced. South, Kwangwon City. As soon as Baizi and Selena set foot on the land of Kalal, they felt the jubilation that flowed in the entire city where they were located. Dandy. 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 Serena, who was struggling to squeeze out of Baizi, patted her heart from the countless banners with the bust of Emperor Dan held high, and sighed. Dandy should be the champion of the Kalal region. Isn't this popularity a bit too scary? What must have happened? Baizi frowned slightly, and responded somewhat uncertainly. Although Emperor Dan's popularity in the Kalal region can be said to be unique, no matter how popular it is, it won't happen every day. Parade. This is obviously because of something related to Dandy, so Dandy's fans, and even the residents of the entire Kalal town, fell into a sea of joy. This matter. Baizi, maybe 25, has some eyebrows. And the next scene he and Serena saw together directly verified the guess that he had associated with it. At this time, the town square full of medieval style is over. A huge airship slowly flew by at a very slow speed at a low altitude, so that everyone in the square below could clearly see the obvious Malakman Group logo on the airship, as well as the huge display attached to the side of the airship hot air balloon. Super giant hell flame, accompanied by an awe-inspiring shout from the broadcast. In the video, a supergiant fire-breathing dragon that stood upright nearly 30 meters high waved a pair of fire wings, and the whole body exuded a rich firelight. In a sudden roar, a hot and thick flame was spit out from his mouth. And in an instant, it turned into a phoenix, flew away in the venue, and slammed into the opposite side of the red tyrannical carp dragon that also maintained a giant. The explosion of fire suddenly rose into the sky. After the flames had dissipated, the tyrannical carp dragon had already lost its fighting ability and lay on the side of the field. The last screen flashed. Appeared. It was the back of Emperor Dan holding the trophy, and then the cheers and salutes resounded throughout the venue. The strongest king, Emperor Dan. Close black lens bracket. Sure enough. Looking at the few gilded characters flowing on the screen, Baizi's eyes flashed a glimpse of understanding. Although it is not clear why Yulongdu did not use the main ace to fight the enemy, but in this battle, he undoubtedly became a stepping stone for Emperor Dan. As well as the best background board for the Pokemon World Championship, co-sponsored and hosted by the Kalal region, that is, the World Championship. Open black lens bracket. Let us sincerely celebrate the official holding of the Pokemon World Championship, and, in the opening match, the birth of the strongest king. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. He is close black lens bracket. Undefeated champion of our Kalal region. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Dan. Close black lens bracket. God. In an instant, the boiling cheers immediately covered up the audio of the broadcast. This is not difficult to understand. If it is said that which trainer's name is the most resonant in this era, then there is no doubt that it must be the world champion, dragon messenger, invincible in the world, etc. The title of Yulongdu. Even if the major regions are divided and ruled, and no one obeys the residents, Yulongdu is still a well-deserved child of the times. And now, he is the champion Dandy, and he defeated the opponent in a head-to-head duel, defeating this strongest person who is subconsciously recognized by the vast majority of people even though he is not recognized. But all the residents of the Kalal region naturally feel and proud. This. Beside her, Serena, who also watched Yulongdu defeating Dandy, looked surprised. Although she was born in Carlos, Serena still heard of the prestige and power of the invincible Longshidu. What's more, she also followed Baizi to meet the head of the four kings of Kanto and the champion of Chengdu at the headquarters of the alliance. Whether it is the bearing or the unfathomable dragon breath, it is extremely heartbreaking. But what she didn't expect was such a strong man standing at the top of the trainer. He just fell into the sand in the Galar area. And many more. Serena blinked. She suddenly thought of the conversation between Baizi and Yulongdu before, combined with the battle spirit Yulongdu used in the video. Suddenly, a bold idea flashed through her mind. Immediately, she turned her head and asked Baizi tentatively, "Brother Baizi, since it's a showdown to decide the strongest king, why don't you use the fast dragon for the champion of Yulongdu? Shouldn't you have guessed it already?" Baizi cast a glance at the girl who was poking his head next to him, chuckled and shrugged, while continuing to play with the elf wrist guard on his hand. He was connecting to Kalol's local network to check the preliminary rankings of the freshly released tournament. It has been said before. Pokémon World Championship, there was a trial operation for a period of time. Because of the new competition system rules, it was popular on the internet for a while. But after all, it was not held for a long time, or it was just a preliminary grass stage team. Although it is quite complete and mature in the Kalol region, it still has not been formally established. Promotion to the world. Simply put. Just not out of the circle yet. Of Yulongdu's popularity, the championship, Dan, and even Emperor Kalol himself were instantly known to everyone. Especially, it was Lowe's, the president of the Alliance branch in the Kalol region. After the battle, he advertised it to the outside world and announced the official announcement of the world ranking, which contains information on trainers from all over the world. Take advantage of the contrasting atmosphere of the regions. In an instant, the popularity of the tournament has been raised again by more than one level, making it a topic that is almost a national craze in a short period of time. It can be said that this is simply a marketing tool that is too good to be good. It turns out that, after listening to Baizi's story, Serena nodded her head with a clear understanding. While sighing in her heart that the world of adults is so complicated, she turned her head and also paid attention to what Baizi opened. The World Ranking section marked in red on the homepage of Genie.com. She was really curious as to how the world rankings of this tournament would rank the current trainers in the world. Will she make the list herself? Where will Baizi be? And what kind of rank can the champion of the Carlos region, Miss Karuna, rank in the end? Open black lens bracket looking forward. JPG.